Football makes you feel mostly happy and excited to play.
We've always felt the same. Just because they have these additional needs doesn't mean they shouldn't be allowed to play football. You know, they should be able to enjoy everything everyone else can. If a child wants to play football, they should be able to play football regardless.
Yn hanesyddol, yr chwaraeon Cymraeg yng Nghymru oedd y tîm rygbi. Mae hwnna rili wedi mynd. Ac ymhellach, tîm pêl-droed Cymru sy'n cymryd y fantol. Mae plethu'r iaith gyda pêl-droed cenedlaethol. Mae hwnna'n stori a hanner.
Football is just, it sounds silly, but it's just my life. Like, that's all I've ever known.
Fire in the heart, ice in the mind. That's Sophie Ingle to a T.
She has that fire inside of her.
I think she's a bit of a silent assassin, really.
But she's a winner, and she is someone I always think you want in your dressing room.
She's really inspiring. She inspires me. I think she inspires every one of our team. We look up to her, and she is the leader of the group.
Pentre bach rhwng Gaernarfon a Bangor. Lle lyflu wrth ymyl y môr, distaw braf.
Centre mid, Yaz, you just sit in front of the front two, iawn?
I fi, bod ni wedi bod yn successful, dim dyna dwi'n chwilio am dim mwy. Dwi just angen players o dyma ac enjoyo fo.
Good evening, everyone, and hello to the people watching at home, whether you're watching on a computer or on your laptop or on your phone, who knows. Thank you for getting involved with what is planning to be a very, very special evening here at the Riverside Tavern in Newport. Oh, yes. I mean, now is not the time, boys. Now is not the time. Listen, we're going to have a fantastic evening. We've got lots and lots of Welsh football fans here. We're going to get primed to ask all of the questions that they want to ask. But first off, I'm just going to tell you what we've got. As part of the programme, we are live across Redwall Plus, the FAW and Welsh football fan socials this evening. Later on, we'll be talking to Neville Southall, ladies and gentlemen. Absolute legend. It doesn't end there. We'll have Robert Earnshaw and Charlotte Galloway from Cardiff Dragons about all the brand new content you can find now on Redwall Plus. Thank you very much. As well as telling a few great footballing stories from their playing careers. We've got comedy from an old friend of mine, Mr. Stefan Allen, and we'll be screening live into your phones and homes Goal Rush, and I've had a chance to see it. It's absolutely brilliant. It's a fantastic new documentary with my old mate Mike Bubbins and a little bit of Ian Rush in it as well. Now, if that isn't special enough for you, we're joined by someone. I mean, he's effectively been a recluse since he joined the FAW. I mean, the one thing I can say that we've all got in common in this room right now, and for you at home, you definitely will have been tweeted by this man. So he is the person who's, I wouldn't say he's in the shadows, but he is pulling all of the strings at the FAW. He is the former goalkeeper turned chief executive of the Football Association of Wales. Please give a warm Walgoch Plus and Boo welcome all the way to the stage to Mr. Noel Mooney. Oh. Hello, Noel. I told a friend of mine who supports Celtic that I was doing this tonight, and he said, he must be the only chief executive of any of the home nations that could do a Q&A without getting bottles launched at him. So clearly you must be doing something right, because we've got fans of all of the Welsh clubs in this room this evening. Nothing's kicked off, which is great.
Not yet.
Not yet. No, it's simmering. It's simmering. Well, listen, I'm going to start off because the FAW was recently named UK Sport Organisation of the Year, the Sport Industry Awards. So there were some, incredible clubs and institutions nominated. You beat off competition from the English FA, Liverpool Football Club, for instance. What was it, do you think, that set the FAW apart?
Well, first of all, I want to say, Dan, what a great place. I haven't been here before. What a fantastic place for the Walgoch to meet, by the way. It's absolutely brilliant. So it feels like coming home when you come in here, because it's just full of Welsh fans. It's just fantastic.
Yeah.
But for us, it's a big journey we're on. I hope tonight we'll get a chance to talk. We'll get a chance to talk about the journey, because it's quite a special journey, and every single one of you are on the journey. And for the FAW to be the best sports organisation in the UK is a big step for us, because where we've come from, if you look back at the FAW many years ago, it probably wouldn't have been getting them awards, I would say. But great people have come through the FAW, they've given a lot of time. But what we tried to do, certainly when I came in, is put a new plan in place, like a reset almost of Welsh football, in terms of much wider than just the national teams. We want to become a really caring, gentle, loving, professional, brilliant sports organisation. We would like to be the best football association in the world, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. And there's still a journey to get there. But if you look at how we operate, the way the people that have come into the team, the way we communicate about Welsh football, the things we do, it connects with people, it engages with people, because it's almost like they can see our soul, that they can see how we think, and they connect with it. I mean, if you look at Latvia on the Tuesday night we came back from Croatia, which was great, full house. So we're now getting full houses on a Tuesday night against Latvia. That's quite new. You think we played Holland in the Nations League, there was 4,000 or 5,000 empty seats, but the guys have really put their minds together. We had an idea to fill it. And it feels like we're on this really great journey. Again, as I say, not just on the national teams, but about doing the right thing every time. There's that great saying by St. David, Ganauki Pethai Behind, which is keep doing the small things. And what we try and do every single day and every single hour is think when a decision comes to you, what's the right thing to do? What works well for the club, for the fans, for the players, whatever it is. When we're talking to the players, for example, when we're looking at Sophie Ingle, when we're talking about equal pay, for example, what's the right thing to do? Yes, do equal pay for boys and girls. That was the right thing to do. When we're trying to represent ourselves on the world stage, who's a brilliant role model for people in Wales who love football? The former Cymru captain, Lauren McAllister, was perfect. So we decided to put her forward for UEFA. She's now vice president of UEFA in the last few months. If you look at last week, obviously winning UK Sports Organisation of the Year was nice. But it's like every week, it's like every month, there's something new coming. And it's certainly not me, it's the team at the FAW who keep coming with brilliant ideas. And a lot of it, I mean, people might say, I'm on social media a bit, I learn from social media. Yeah, a little bit. But you learn. I mean, I could come up with an idea and say, God, this is a great thing we do. And someone would say, that's a shit idea. Don't do that. And I'll go, do you know what? They might have a point here. We shouldn't do it. So you kind of avoid making mistakes sometimes. Something you might think is a good idea. You put it out there. You sow a seed. You think, what do you think of that? And people say, it's not for us. That's when you show that you're vulnerable. We make mistakes, lots of mistakes, but we keep learning from them. And we keep going, how do we get better? How do we improve? And that's how the football teams think. That's how Paigey and Gemma and all the different teams think, is how do we improve? How do we get better? We went to Qatar, a special thing to get to the World Cup. Off the pitch, I thought we engaged with people. If you look at how we did the World Cup song, if you look at how we did the bucket hats around the cities, if you look at the stuff we did in schools and grassroots clubs, I think as a team, we were really proud of what we did. On the pitch, we didn't deliver our sporting side. So what you do then, you either go, oh, damn, and get all depressed, or you go, okay, we're going into the Euros now. I could see it with the team. I could see it with the manager. They went, hang on. Let's do a full review of the World Cup. What worked? What didn't work? What are the things that we did in Qatar that didn't allow the players to perform to the highest standards they have over the last decade or so? We wrote them all up as a group. We discussed them at council, board, with the players, with the staff, and said, here's the thing. Some of them I wouldn't share because they're small details, but it's the small details that make us world class, the small things, as I say. So we've looked at all them. First camp we go back to is Croatia and Latvia. And it's really nice with the team because we went to Croatia, we did everything right. We made mistakes in Qatar ourselves in lots of different small things. With Croatia, it was bang on. Everyone was back. We were back fresh. We said, damn this, we're going to be brilliant again. We went to Croatia. I could feel it in the camp. I was in the hotel with the players, with the staff. I could feel there was something about them. Okay, we scored in the last minute, which was fantastic to get the equaliser. But you could feel that we'd given ourselves every chance of competing. Throughout the game, we competed. And it's the same with the women. We're the highest spending. I don't want to make this a party political broadcast or anything like that, but we're the highest spending federation in Europe for our size and our turnover on the women's team. The women's team get treated exactly the same as the men in everything. That's how it should be.
I've got lots of questions about the women's team. We'll come on to that in a second. We'll come on to the performance in Qatar in a second as well. But I think a lot of you might not know this, or this might have passed you by. Laura McAllister is now Vice President of UEFA, which I think deserves a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, because that is an extraordinary thing. You know, she is such a talented person, and she's got so much to bring. What does that how will that benefit Welsh football? Sort of in terms of having someone at the top end of, UEFA's governance, how will that benefit football in Wales?
Well, there's a few things. First of all, I just heard you say there about, you think how brilliant is Cymru when I think about it. Just a few weeks ago, she was being stopped going into a stadium for wearing a rainbow-coloured hat.
Yeah.
And now she's vice president of UEFA. Yeah. So it's quite interesting, that whole journey, I suppose. But what is special about that, I suppose, for us is we would like to host the Euros here in Cardiff, which is a difficult thing. It's a huge event. The Euros is enormous. We'd like to host some of that here.
And would the games then be at the Principality Stadium or the Cardiff City Stadium?
And there's a big reason for that, which I'm happy to go into shortly. So while Cardiff City is our home, and we can talk about after, we really want to go to Wrexham as well to play. I think we need to be clear on that. We should bring matches to North Wales as soon as we can, and we can talk about that soon if you wish. But in terms of Laura, the direct question was about Laura on the board of UEFA. So what you've got is, I was just mentioning the women's team. There's not enough money coming into the women's game as an example.
Yeah.
So we're not getting the money from TV rights for the women's game that we get for the men's game. We accept that. We don't get the same money from grants and different things from UEFA or FIFA than we get for the men's game. What Laura will do will be a voice, not just for Cymru, but for football, for women's football, and she'll bring that to the UEFA board saying, I think that we need more equality across all these different areas. Since I came into the job, she's been in my ear since I started. I'm doing this and doing that, and it's fantastic. I mean, we'll talk after Neville Southall will speak later. Neville is in my ear all the time about how do you create a football federation that shows some love and makes society better. And Neville, I have a lot to thank for. We can talk about that later too. All that said, we've got these brilliant people here who, and many of you are here, by the way, who keep influencing what we're doing. So we have this saying, together stronger, and it really lives amongst us. I mean, literally, we could sit down here, have a pint, you come up with an idea, and if it's a bloody good idea, we'll try and do it. Like this came, we only thought of this 3 weeks ago. How do we get out and meet people? Why do we wait in between every international match to meet each other? Why don't we?
You came up to me at a game, the Welsh Women's Friendly against Northern Ireland, and you said, will you interview me, Alice? And I said, yeah. I gave you my agent's number. She said, he wants you to do it next week. I was like, oh, right, okay. I assumed the way these things happen, I assumed it would take 6 months. So it's nice that you can be fleet-footed and you can do these things and you can act quickly. Now, you've already said so many things that I want to pinpoint and discuss, but we'll start with Qatar. I think the games against Austria and Ukraine, I mean, they will live forever, I think. I don't think I've experienced anything like that Ukraine match. However, you can't sugarcoat it. The performances on the pitch in Qatar were disappointing. It wasn't good enough. So as an association, what have you looked at and how have you gone about preventing that from happening again?
Yeah, so if you look at Qatar itself, it was a very short lead in time. I think literally the players got there, they had one night type thing. They did a training session in Cardiff and they were in Doha that night. So that was quite unusual, but the same for a lot of teams, let's be fair. So there's no excuses there at all. It's our first World Cup. What shocked a lot of our team, our staff, who'd been to 2 Euros, was the scale of this. I know Rob Dowling is here and some others. The size of this thing was enormous. And immediately we were thrown into the whole question about the armband, for example. That came just boom. It was like arriving at a UN conference rather than a World Cup, to be honest, because it was about social issues and human rights, which wasn't a shock to us. It was just a shock how big it became. It was CNN, it was everywhere. So that was one thing. Then in terms of the play itself, if you look at the America game, they were very good first half. They were very mobile and all that, and we weren't. So second half, Kiefer comes on and transformed the match. We left that game, it was perfect. Garrett had scored his goal. He was dreaming of getting to World Cup finals. We left the stadium that night thinking, yes, we're flying now. We're up and running.
There was a goal-scoring opportunity right at the end, if you remember. I mean, I probably see it every time I close my eyes, but there was effectively an open goal. The keeper was off his line, and he'd pulled the trigger. He was going to take a shot, and then he was fouled, and it was a yellow card. And you think to yourself, if you go into the second game 2-1 having won a game, 3 points to the board, it could be a very different tournament, couldn't it? But so you left the ground.
Yeah.
Relatively pleased with the performance then.
Yeah. Even thinking we're up and running now. We've got our point.
Yeah.
Great that this iconic player, Gareth Bale, has scored his goal. We left really happy. So the players go back into training. We get on about our business. Then Iran came. It was a surreal atmosphere. I don't know how many of you were at the Iran game, but it was really surreal because obviously they'd beaten by England, but there was a lot going around, stories about players and stuff happening at home. And the atmosphere that day was back in Iran and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
But in the stadium, you could just feed off the energy of the Iranians. It was like we were at their match, and that what they were playing for was something even bigger than a World Cup. It was life or death. It was something that was quite amazing. I mean, I looked around the stadium, you could see all these women and men screaming for Iran. Now, these are top professional players that play for us, so they're used to being to stadiums that have different atmospheres. We had a chance, if you remember, Kiefer had a bit of a chance early on, where if he connected and it goes in the corner, we're off and running. But it just didn't work for whatever reason. Then your mate, Joel, came on.
I wish he was my mate.
My God. And it was just unfortunate, as we know what happened. Like, we think, okay, what does a draw mean? It means we have to do this against England. And obviously what happened in the 90 minutes plus happened as it did. So Obviously, the Wayne thing as well, that true thing. So it's tournament football. Anything happen? Ask England. It just changes like that. So it was the Iran game. We were really deflated because you knew then the England game was going to be a big reach.
Yeah.
And it was just the reach was too much. Halftime we came in against England. I thought we played pretty well against England. To be fair,
0-0, wasn't it?
Yeah, halftime we came in. Then in the second half, your mate, just before halftime, he had one on his left foot. It went towards the top corner, but it went over. If you remember that, drove from the edge of the box. So it goes over. Halftime, we're sitting down having a pint, thinking we're doing okay here. And literally, you sit down, sat down, and Rashford's peeing in the top corner, and you're like, shit, the whole momentum changes. So what I would say is there's a lot of learnings for the side. It was their first World Cup finals. There was so much joy here of going along the streets, watching children wearing their new Cymru tops. It was beautiful. All across, wherever I went, going to see the enthusiasm of the schools. The Errors did a terrific job, by the way. They did a terrific job. The things we saw, the art that was created, the culture, with this Goyle Cymru concept in bars like this and right up to Dalgeclai and all these different places where we celebrate what it meant to be Welsh. Culture, music, and all these things that you see a bit here tonight. So it was a great experience leading into it. The matches didn't work exactly as one. Let's be clear, and let's not sugarcoat at all. But when we came back, we were all a bit, I suppose, a bit deflated is the best way of putting it. We came back, we had our Christmas holidays, and then we went into reflection mode instantly. And when you talk to people who are really high performance, you talk about Ben Davies or Aaron Ramsey or Gareth Bale, whoever it is, they're so high performance, they want to get into this. So we decided to interview the players, interview all the staff, interview the board members, interview people around the whole situation.
Is that done individually out of interest?
Individually, yeah. So they'd have had Zoom meetings with players, for example. So, I mean, Ben is down at Spurs, obviously, in London. You had the chief of this review, who was Steve Dawson, who was the chair of the board. He did the review independently, and it was no holds barred. If I'd done something wrong, write it down. If I did something as the CEO that wasn't right. But I'll give you a very, very simple example. Because the lead-in time to the World Cup was really short, what we would normally do before a big tournament is you'd bring politicians to meet the players before they go. So you'd have the First Minister comes in, whoever it is, would come in and meet the players. Because we didn't have time here in Cardiff when they were in, they met them over in Qatar. And that's just something like they really liked meeting the First Minister, who's a lovely person, a good guy. He met them for a few minutes, no problem. Just when we're trying to reach a level that is like what we're trying to reach with the FAW, that's really world class, that doesn't leave any stone uncovered to be brilliant. These are the kind of things the players discussed. So, for example, our arrival, could we have done things just a little bit different? That kind of stuff.
Well, usually for a normal tournament that happens in the summer, you'd get, apart from maybe players involved in the Champions League final, you'd get 5 or 6 weeks. But I think the Premier League ended a week before the first game. So, but also that was the same for everyone.
It was the same for a lot. There was some other leagues that were a bit earlier, there's a bit more time, but we shouldn't make any excuses. And what our job at the association to do is to have no excuses for the players. So that they've slept in a good bed, they've had the right foods, they've got the right physio, they've got the right sports psychology, by the way, which is a really big thing. It's getting bigger and bigger. Psychology with the players, massive.
Just before we move on, I think one of us said a swear word. So I apologise for people at home, because obviously there are some children watching, because it's not too late. Now, you're talking about sports psychology. There have been big changes behind the scenes, haven't there? So Rob Page's backroom stuff has changed over the last few weeks. Could you talk about who you've brought in?
Yeah, so as I say, as part of the review thing, Rob has been fantastic. He's looked at what he really wants to get us through to Euro 24. So he's brought in a brilliant young coach from Manchester United, Eric Ramsey, whose goalkeeper actually was playing in the Welsh Cup final in goals for Bala at the weekend. So Eric's come in, yeah. He let a lot of goals. As a former goalkeeper, we have these days. These things happen. But he played really well, to be fair to him. So we brought in Eric. We brought in Nick Davies, another Welsh person who's come from West Ham.
Yeah.
And then what we really looked at was the environment on the camp. So no person is an island. We all need people to talk to, every one of us. If we're not feeling good about a situation, it's really good to have somebody who's qualified and knows what they're talking about, to have a chat with them. So when we did really well in 2016, there was a guy called Ian Mitchell, who I know is watching this, by the way. So hi, Ian. So Ian was part of this terrific squad, this great spirit in 2016. And he was basically one of the go-to person for the players, the coaches, to have a chat with, to say, how do I approach this? I'm not feeling good about this. How do I do this? And just as a sounding board, basically. So he was at the Swans. He was coming into Wales camps. He built a really good reputation as being a super sports psychologist, basically. And after the World Cup, England came in and took him. He went down to England.
Yeah.
He was on the bench when we played against England in Qatar. But as part of our review, and this is really the point I'm trying to make, on the pitch and off the pitch, if you want to be brilliant and world class, you've got to go and get the best people. You've got to, because it's all about people. It's all about getting the right person for the right thing, whether it's a striker, whether it's the sports psychologist, whether it's the manager, whatever it is. And in Rob's feeling, certainly, and of course, the people we spoke about, the players, the environment, absolutely loved him. He's such a really big part of the success. So we went after him. We chased him. We said, come back down to Cymru and we'll have a great future ahead of us. We had a chat, we had coffee. He'd spoken to Paige, he'd spoken to lots of people, players and everything. And he decided to come home.
Because he was a big part of Coleman and Oshan's team, wasn't he?
Big part.
Part of their backroom stuff.
I'd heard his name before I ever met him, that this person was basically like the brain doctor almost, who's talking to you about how do you approach matches. And I think in the cauldron of Qatar, in the cauldron of a World Cup finals, where it feels like the whole world is on top of you, the players are in a cooped up place there was no outdoor space at the hotel. It was a late hotel because we were late qualifying. We had all these issues. He'd have been great to be on the camp, to talk to the players, to talk to the coaches, talk to the managers. But our job is to make sure that when the manager asks for something, that we go and get him, the person. It's like when you see managers of, Premier League clubs. The job of the owner of the club is not to sign the players. The job is to hire the best manager.
Unless you're Chelsea,
Is to hire a great manager. Some clubs do have that system where someone else signs the players. We really don't agree with that. Our job is to get the manager, back the manager, look for his or her vision of what they're trying to do, and give them all the resources they possibly can within our budget to allow them to be the best they can be. That's it. We don't influence who. It's just, do we support them? And I think if you ask Rob, or you ask Gemma, or you ask any of our youth team coaches, do they get everything they need to be successful for us on the pitch? Yes is the answer, and I would imagine they would all subscribe to that.
Well, as an Irish person, some of my formative memories as a football fan, include watching Ireland play at Italia 90, Euro 88. So the Republic had this fabulous golden age. And to be honest, since Jack Charlton left, 2002 World Cup, obviously, but it hasn't been repeated. So what are the mistakes that the Irish FA made that we can prevent? Because we're in the middle of a golden age, 2 Euros and a World Cup. This is unimaginable, almost uncharted territory for us. So are you looking across at what happens in your homeland to try and prevent that from happening in Wales?
Well, we've got to do it for us, and we've got a high-performance plan with pathways. So a really big thing for Welsh football, by the way, I know many of you will know this, but it's really important to be aware of the significance of it. For our under-17 boys team to qualify for the first Euros since Mark Hughes played in 1981 is just a signal of where we're going. So, when I came to take the job, for example, people said to me, some of the players like Bale, they're coming towards the end. Should you be thinking, what's going to happen when he goes? We will be okay. And if you watch the Croatia match, we were all sitting there going, we're okay. We've got some really world-class players. We've got brilliant people. We were missing Brennan Johnson and Ben Davies in Croatia against one of the top teams in the world. And we went toe-to-toe with them. And eventually we came away with the share of the spoils, which is fantastic, of course. But when you look at the teams, we brought Matty Jones in as the manager of the under-21s with Neil Taylor. And that's a little look into the future. If anyone here knows Matty Jones is a lovely soul. He's a lovely person. And that for us is critical, because you can be a brilliant manager, but if you're not a very nice person, that doesn't really work for the FAW now. It doesn't work.
I played football against Matthew at youth level because he was playing for Cesar. I think Llanelli was playing for Carmarthen Town, and I could not cope. It was one of the worst experiences of my life, but still, I'm very glad that he's involved in the sector. So Wales have got a friendly coming up at the racecourse. The COP is being revitalised, and they're changing the COP at the racecourse as well. Obviously, Wrexham it's the feel-good story in Welsh football at the moment.
Yeah.
Are there more? So you can't boo that. Come on, for crying out loud. I know there are issues between Newport County and Wrexham, but now is not the time. I know it was 10 years ago today that you beat them in the playoffs, but now is not the time. So are there plans for more friendlies at the racecourse? Because the racecourse used to host the women's games, used to host the under-17s, the 19s and the 21s. Is that something that you've got plans for?
Definitely. I mean, whatever about the local feeling about Wrexham, football in North Wales is just going through a fantastic time. You know, if you drive around North Wales, it's football everywhere. So they're getting 10,000 people or so, all the home games. And it's a real thing for us to bring international football back to North Wales. And obviously the Kairas is perfect for us. So what we are hoping to do is to play our match in October against Gibraltar. That's what we're hoping to do. We're working through the details. Obviously, they're redeveloping the stadium. The new lights, I believe, are going in, all that stuff. So we're just going through the T's, crossing the T's, dotting the I's. But our intention, that's what I can say, is to go and play in Wrexham in October. And we're really close to agreeing to play in Cardiff in September against South Korea, which Jurgen Klinsmann manages. So we're really hoping that we can announce that quite soon. We're close. It's not done yet, I have to say. So neither of the two games are signed. So what's important for us, Ellis, is you've got fans who want to book their flights to Latvia, for example. And it's really important that we give clarity on the games that have been played. So I can say clearly, we're trying to get the game against South Korea organised in Cardiff for September. We're trying to get the game against Gibraltar in Wrexham for October.
I mean, you might not be able to answer this. What is the allocation going to be for Latvia? Because my friends are terrified. Because the ground itself holds about 10,000, I think. So you would assume that it's going to be 1,000, which isn't enough.
It's not like what it was. The Wales away, by the way, is unbelievable. Like, it's just unbelievable. I'm going to tell you a funny story. The day in Split, so I walked down from our hotel, the Players Hotel, down into the harbour in Split. I don't know how many of you were there, but it was like heaven. It was just heaven. There was just loads of Cymru fans in their shirts, sitting out having beers, singing. Then the Croatians came a bit later.
No one chucked any tables.
No, it was great. It was just majestic. The whole thing was beautiful. And this is actually a true story. I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable with you here. I remember looking out across the bay, beautiful water you could see through, and I was thinking, we're missing some players going to Croatia.
Yeah.
I could see all the joy on the fans across the harbour. I could see everyone just so happy. And I was really thinking, I really hope we do it for them tonight. I really hope the players are aware of what it means. Of course they're aware. But I was just saying, I really hope that the fans are not going away on a downer. That was my big worry. 45 minutes after the game, I was downstairs in this really old concrete bowl, and I could still hear them full pelt, Wales away and all that. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. It was just...
Now, to be honest, it is one of, I think, it's one of the success stories of the last 10 or 15 years, and that Wales away has now become this cultural movement. It is the most fun weekend you can have, or it's the best thing. And so, Latvia, if you can increase the allocation, please, by all means, because I think everyone in this room would love to go, but not everyone has enough points. Now, obviously, I could talk to you all night, so I'm going to move on to the women's team. So the last friendly, I think there was 6,500, 7,000 there. For a friendly, 5, even 10 years ago, that would have been absolutely unimaginable. Now, Gemma Granger is doing the business on the pitch with a very, very good squad of players. They've been drawn in Nations League A, but it's a tough group. It's Germany, Iceland, and Denmark. Then I think of Wrexham getting 9,500 for a domestic women's game against Connors Quay. Are you worried that the expansion in the women's game is overtaking the FAW? Can you cope with this increase in interest?
Yes, 100%, I can tell you, because we've got a team. Like, the opening question tonight was, you won this sports organisation of the year, which is fine. But why we won that, again, is the brilliant people across the FAW. So we've got a lot of people now really focused on women's football, women and girls football. There's a constant press, a constant push to keep pushing on the women's game. So we actually are quite difficult on ourselves. When we look in the mirror and we say, are we doing enough for the women's game? We're constantly pushing ourselves. So you're quite right. We went from, 1,200, 1,500 people, with 15,000 people at the match against the playoff game. It was fantastic. So it's grown massively. As you mentioned, Wrexham for a domestic league game had 9,500 people for a domestic league match, way more than we get for the men's domestic games at the moment, which is another point for discussion. But it's growing really quickly. We've got all our ducks in a row, I would say. Like, we've got a strategy for the women and girls game, which maps out how do we get more girls playing football. What we need to is build more facilities. The facilities across the country need to improve. We've made really good steps so far. We've put out, even last week or the week before, we put out £4.5 million to 81 projects across the country. All the money we got from the World Cup final. So if you think of Qatar, you know, we made a few £1 million in Qatar. Every shilling of that goes back into communities, clubs that can apply for. We can show that to you. We've put millions of pounds back in. And next year, importantly, we will put, you know, £10 million back into pitches so that girls can have their own dressing rooms, can have pitches. So if you're a 6 or 7 year old girl, if you go to a big concrete dressing room and the urinal hits you on the face and you walk in, and the language being used around the place is not welcoming for young girls to come, you won't go back. So we've got to create what they call the environment for her, which is where she wants to keep coming back to play football. What we know is the interest in girls is fantastic. Even if I look around tonight, by the way, I'm really proud of how the audience is very mixed tonight. When I look at our fans at matches, we really are starting to get more and more and more women involved in Welsh football. And that makes us so proud. And what I will say in the FAW, anyone who works there will tell you this, the women's game is everywhere in the FAW. It's talked about every meeting the same way, if not more, than the men's. So we're really equipped for it. What I would say is, and you have to be open about this, the problem is that the money coming in for the women's game is not keeping pace with the investment we're putting in. So when I look at what we're investing into our women's team, as I said, we give them the same services as the men. So you look at things like charter flights, all the same hotels, all the same physios, all the same different things. And so they should. And every single one of us, in our heart and soul, that's what we want to give. We're good people, all, but we want to do the right thing. But there is that balancing act, which is difficult at times, because you've got, you know, the men are bringing in millions and millions and millions. The women, not yet, but you then have to flick back and go, hang on a second. They're coming from later. It wasn't their fault. That was not their fault. They've only been given the chance recently, and they are knocking it out of the ballpark. Our women's team, I was sitting there at half-time against Northern Ireland, having seen one of the great displays, I have to say. The display they put on against Northern Ireland, the football
Sophie Ingle was superb that night.
Amazing. She's like a Rolls Royce in there.
Yeah.
She has right foot, left foot. Look at Hayley Ladd, for example. Right foot, left foot, core strength. It's everywhere. And right across the team, we've got talent coming through. We've got that young goalkeeper at Manchester United, Safi, coming through. We've got players coming through everywhere. And as I go back a bit to that story that someone said to me, oh, Bale won't be there too long. We have no concerns anymore. We've got a strategy. We've got loads of players coming through, male and female. What we do invest in, and we're investing more in, is talent ID. So we've brought in we've grown that team of people. There was a guy called Gus Williams, left us to go to Blackburn Rovers as their talent ID. We went and we brought him back. Because we realised this guy knows everybody. He's the one who found Ethan Ampadu, who found these people. We need him back.
The sort of job Brian Flynn used to do years ago, isn't it?
So we went to him and said, please come home. The same as Ian Mitchell. We're not big enough to say, we really need you back. Wales needs you. We need you home. So he came back. We brought a brilliant guy in from Huddersfield Town, James Holland, who leads on the domestic stuff. So every week they're out looking at all across the UK, but we've gone much further. We've got young players in America who've got Welsh heritage. We've young players in Australia who want to come into our camps. Now, we know what we need. I mean, if you just think logically, Danny Ward, Wayne Hennessy are not in their early 20s. So who's the goalkeeper coming over the hill who's going to replace them? If we're not thinking like that, then we're not world class. Strikers wise, where are we with the women's team, for example? Who's coming through as strikers, the women's team? We saw Hannah Kane come in, etc. Fine, but we like the amount we spend, the investment on staff to go out and see all these matches and find an Ethan Ampadu or find a Brennan Johnson or whoever it is. It's actually small for what we get.
Is it better then for Welsh women to go and play in the WSL? Because the Adran League doesn't respect international breaks, is it? Because Cardiff City lost 4 women for a cup semi-final. because they were on Welsh international duty. So is it easier for our top players, for people like Sophie and
first of all, what's really interesting for Welsh football, it's really good, is that you now have next season, you're going to have Cardiff, Swansea, now Wrexham have been promoted. You've got other clubs that are not too far by who want to be part of the new Women's League, for example. So the Women's League is growing really quickly here, I have to say. All of that said, if you want to be a top player, male or female, you want to play in the best league in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a natural thing. So if you've got a player playing for Chelsea, like Sophie does, for example, or Jess is in the United States, I mean, this is an amazing thing. I love how humble people are here in Wales. Jess was the most valuable player in America, playing beside Megan Rapinoe, and nobody made a big song and dance about it here.
Yeah.
We've got Laura, who's the vice president of UEFA, and most people are just going to go, yeah, that's nice. It's almost like we can run the whole world from here. It's fantastic. And other countries don't think like that. It's quite humble. But there are moments where you kind of have to actually say, do you know what? We're very good, actually.
But to be honest, I don't know what the people in the audience think of this. I'm always very proud of how humble Welsh people are. But I talked to Sam Warburton, the rugby player. I was talking to him about the Welsh underdog mentality. And I think the 4 games, people at home will have thought this as well. You go into a big match and you think, it suits us that we're the underdogs. It suits us that we're not expected to win. These backs against the wall performances of the games, that we do win, Italy in 2002 or Germany in 1991, Euro 2016. I talked to Sam about it and he said, but I never wanted to be an underdog. I've sacrificed everything to be the best rugby player in the world. So I don't want to be number 2. So is that a mentality issue, you think?
But look at, if I've sat at meetings when you're looking at Gareth Bale straight in the eyes, them big blue eyes are looking at you. And do you think he ever thinks he's not the best player on the park? He's played for Real Madrid at the highest level, as we know. You've got our current captain who's played for Juventus, who's played for Arsenal and so on. These people think they're the best at what they do. I mean, they really do. Like, I think at the FAW, I really believe that we're not there just yet, but we're going to become the best football association in the world. I've no doubt about that. Because we've laid it all out. I just need to stay for a second. What's really important for everyone to know is that we've got the really clear plan of what we're doing. There's 6 parts to it. One is called sustainability, Sustainable Association for the Future. And it's what you call good governance. So having the decision-making bodies that has brilliant people on the board, brilliant people throughout the organisation that make the right decisions for Welsh football. If you don't have that, it's a real problem. Wales on the world stage, we want to host major tournaments here. We want to go and play major tournaments all the time. Now, I'm thinking we want to play in the Euros in 24. We want to qualify for our first women's finals in 25. We definitely want to qualify for the World Cup in 26. Yeah. We definitely want to qualify for our first Women's World Cup in 27. Then we want to host the Euros here in Cardiff. And then we want to move on then to the next Euros in 29. So it's mapped out. I've written out 100 times at home. We're qualifying for everything, by the way. Sorry about sorry for but that's the mentality of the organisation has to be. We're planning for Germany. We're going to Germany. We're going to play in Germany. I'm going to play really well. And when we play really well in Germany, we'll reflect on the difficult days after Qatar, where we did them reflections. And we went through that bit of soul searching to say, what did I do wrong? What did you do wrong? What could we have done better? When we do well in Germany, it'll feel even sweeter. It'll taste even sweeter. And if we don't do well in Germany, it'll taste even sweeter again. But if you're a professional and you really love what you do and you believe in it, you keep striving every day to do better. And that's what I see with the women's team. I watch Gemma. She keeps talking about fine margins, marginal gains, everything. It could be what you're eating. It could be scrambled eggs instead of poached. It could be anything. They keep looking for marginal gains to get better. And what I am seeing definitely across all the Cymru sides is they believe they're better than the opposition generally.
Before we carry on, what's wrong with poached eggs? Oh my God. So that's why I didn't make it as a footballer. I've been poaching eggs all my life. Oh God. Now, I think it's time we take questions from the audience. So you can ask about the Cymru Prem, you can ask about your local team, grassroots football, anything you like. Well, right, okay.
It's not a question.
It's not a question. That's a good start.
Firstly,
yeah.
Yes, I have it. A tweet back off Noel Mooney.
Right. Yes, you have it. A tweet. Sorry, I'm repeating what you're saying for the benefit of the stream.
We did not give an round of applause for winning the sports organisation of Great Britain. You mentioned it earlier. So should we do that now?
Yes, I think we should give the FAW a big round of applause for winning Sports Organisation of the Year. It's a fantastic achievement. Well, Well, I'm going to ask a question to kick us off. Now, the Cymru Prem, give me 1 second. The Cymru Prem is a great product on the pitch. Like the last day, Aberystwyth staying up pretty much with the last kick of the game. It's a great product if you watch it, but the attendances are low. So the $1 million question I suppose I've got to ask is, what are the FAW doing to try and increase engagement with the Cymru Prem?
Okay, so what I will say is it's really interesting, the geography of the country, as you know, because upstairs in my office, you've got Cardiff City, for example, who play in the English system and that as well. I was talking to you about our strategy. So there's 6 parts where I didn't quite finish. Growing participation is another big one. Growing the volunteers across the country and so on and so forth. That's fine. But in the short term, a big goal that we have is to finalize the plan for the Cymru Premier Division. So in late last year, in January, straight after the holidays, in late February, we met with all the clubs. We brought in an expert from outside who's worked with me in many different countries in my previous job in UEFA of building really good leagues. And we talked about what can we do here to create a very good league. We're not going to be La Liga. We're not going to be Premier League in England. We have to accept the biggest league in the world is on our doorstep. So we've got to find our own way. We've got to find something that really makes us stand out. So there's a lot of feedback I hear that the league is too small, for example. Maybe they talk about it should be 16 teams, fine. It should be 18 teams, should be 14. That's all okay. That's the detail of it. But what we did was we agreed a roadmap right up to 2030 of what the league should look like. How do we do it year by year with milestones, etc. So the next step for us is to present that to the National League Board, which is the board that runs the league. It'll go to the FAW board in June, by the way. And what I'll be presenting to them is our direction of travel. So it won't have, there's going to be 16 teams or so on and so forth. And we're really open to everything, just to be clear. But what is coming through loud and clear is, if you try and compete with, I don't know, Liverpool, for example, if you try and compete with them on a toe-to-toe on your offering, it's quite difficult. So you've got to do something different. And what we see is very much making the club a community club. That what we've tried to do at the FAW is be more than a football association. You've heard Barcelona say more than a club. We try to be more than just an organisation that puts on football. We try to stand up for what people think is right. Whatever the issues are, we try and represent a modern, progressive country. What we want the league, or what the clubs want, is that they become embedded in their community. So they're linked to all the grassroots clubs locally. They're the pinnacle of football in their area. They all have agreements with the clubs around them, but they also mean more than just Aberystwyth, the football team that plays on a Friday night or a Saturday. 11 people go out and play a game of football. That's not super attractive because you can press the button and you can see the best football in the world. So what we've got to do is make sure they create a brand, if you will, for want of a better word, that people are really attracted to. The FAW have built a brand over many years. Before I ever got there, they were building this brand that meant something to people. And when we do something like tonight, for example, it's a very good example, people are interested in what we're doing because they believe, they trust us. They know we won't get every decision right, but people trust us by and large to do the right thing. Well, with a club, you just want your club to understand what you want as a fan and try to work with the fans to give them what they want, and so that they'll invite their friends to be part of a movement in the area that's more than a football club, that's embedded in the community. So that's the concept. Now we have to do, well, you need people, you need to hire people, you need to do things to create that. You need to have a brand vision for each club. You need to have professional people in the FAW. We don't do enough in terms of the marketing and promotion of the league, because the FAW I took over had gone through this huge recent success of the national men's team. We're now grappling with hundreds of new issues, which are the grassroots game, which we took over, by the way.
So pitches for junior teams and walking football and things like that.
Like it's coming. Like if you take, when I came in a year and a half ago, the FAW was 2 organisations. There was the FAW over here, which looked after international football and competitions. There was the FAW Trust in Dragon Park. There were 2 different companies. That's all merged to one FA, one team, one dream. So that was a lot of work to put that together. We've taken over grassroots football, which the FAW didn't have. So now we're trying to get from 95,000 players to 120,000 players in double quick time. We need more and more pitches. Over 20% of our matches are called off every week because of rain. Now, you don't need to be Nostradamus to know it's going to rain here. So what we know is if we build all-weather pitches, more and more of them, which is expensive. I mean, to build a full-size all-weather pitch, the proper one with the fence and the lights, is about £1.2 million.
Right, okay.
And for a grassroots club where there's some volunteers, that's a big undertaking. But
yeah,
we need to do that. We need to find this money.
Penydarren Park is an all-weather pitch. Yeah. I think there's another one, Penydarren BGC. I think they've got one. But Merthyr, there's a lot of people live in Merthyr.
Yeah.
So, but if each one costs £1 million, where does the money come from then?
Well, it's a good question. The good news is in Merthyr, I don't know if it's announced yet, but it will be quite soon. It might be announced now, actually. We're going to have another full-size 3G pitch in the Merthyr area in the next few months. But where the money comes from. So the FAW has worked very closely with the Welsh Government, has worked very closely with the UK Government, has worked very closely with the Premier League, by the way. So we've got an agreement that we'll be announcing quite soon with the English Premier League where they're helping us with some funding. But the money we generate ourselves. So World Cup, we generate a few million quid from the World Cup. All of that goes into it. So instead of waiting for other people, we decided to get our own money and hopefully what they call the laws of attraction. If you start to say, I'm not just going to the government to say, give me money for pitches, which everyone does. We said, you know what? We're going to put a plan in place. We did a full audit of Wales. We know where the pitches need to be built. We've talked to the clubs. We're talking all the time to build clubs. We've just set up a new thing called the Cymru Football Foundation, which is 6 people up in Dragon Park. Their only job is to build grassroots pitches across the country. So we've given them millions of pounds. Any club out there that wants to have facilities, now I can look you in the eye and say, apply for funding. We have the money. As I say, next year, we'll give out about £10 million. We've never done that before. So what I'm saying to you is every month, every year, we're kind of going through new frontiers. And when you ask about grassroots football, for example, last Monday, 9 new people started in the FAW. I walked into the board and there's 9 new faces. 7 of them are in 7 different parts of the country. Their job is to sit down with each grassroots club to figure out a plan with the club for each club, where it's building facilities, bringing more volunteers in, starting to get more girls to play football. Because our real dream, you asked about becoming a Premier Division, I hope I've articulated that we go through the boards.
Well, the only thing I'll ask, I don't want to use my influence, as long as you can make the Cymru Premier Division big enough to include Carmarthen Town, I don't care what you do. I mean, that's all I want, really. Yeah,
but what I would say, I don't want tonight's a very fun night, it's good crack and that's great, but trust me on this. If you think you're hard on us, we're much harder on ourselves than you could ever be. Trust me on that. We go through dark moments in the day or night when we question ourselves, did we do the right thing here? So I'll give you a very simple example. This morning, my inbox is full. We did the academy stuff yesterday. The letters went out to the clubs to talk about who's got the new category of academy. So you've got A Academy, B, and C. And a lot of parents from Taffswell in particular.
Yes.
I think I've got to know most of the parents from Taffswell today with their emails.
Because they weren't given academy status.
No, they were given a C, which isn't
isn't
financed and so on. The games program, that's so much. So you have to go back to the principles of what we're trying to do. First of all, before you talk about anything specific, you've got to talk about what we're trying to do. So you step back and you go, okay, I arrive in Wales from outside of Wales, I guess the best way of putting it. and I look at it and I go, you've 30 academies for 80,000 boys. Just to put this in context, England have 30 academies for 800,000 players.
Okay.
So this is a difficult thing to say, and it may not go down really, really well. But the worst thing we can do, and I've got a son who I hope goes on to be a footballer or a ballerina, whatever he chooses to do, it's his choice, obviously. But if he wants to be a footballer, he wants him to be a footballer. You live your dream sometimes through your kids. It's just how it works. My father used to come to all my matches when I wanted to be a footballer and watch me, and he was prouder when I played well than I was. We're all a bit like that. My mother the same, but sometimes I heard a club once say to me that they had an academy which was designed around 3 or 4 players. The rest were what they call fillers. And that meant that the parents were paying £400 or £500, being sold a dream that actually wasn't real. Yeah. So basically, they had a few good players in the area. They put these players into the team, and then they told other parents and other people, come along, play for our academy, you could be a footballer. But the truth was, when we looked at the academies and saw the quality wasn't there. And when you want to create good footballers in the future, you need to have things basics like safeguarding. Yes. You need to have your DBS checks. You need safety of the children, first of all. You need to have appropriately qualified coaches. So you need to have coaches that have the proper licenses. We can all play FIFA and think that we're Jose Mourinho, but that doesn't...
Hello.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, when you're dealing with young people, this is the thing. When you're managing young kids, you've got their whole life and their dreams in your hands. And as a young player, people spoke cruelly to me and brushed my dreams away, just like that. And it was my whole life, and they just tell you, no, and they don't do it well. And as
I
things
mean,
move
if you
on-
read any footballer autobiography,
Yeah.
they often have these stories.
Yeah.
Robbie Savage, off the top of my head, was let go. He was part of the class of '92,
Yeah.
and he was told he wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Ended up going to Crewe, I think. So, it is difficult. It's a tiny percentage, tiny proportion of players make it.
Yeah, it is. And a lot of the criticism we get is about this licensing, for example. So licensing is in every country in UEFA. Licensing is designed to make sure the facilities enable things to happen. So, for example, if you get promoted to our Premier Division, we've got a TV contract whereby you need to have floodlights for a start. You need to have TV gantries. I mean, they're basic things. But because the facilities, and a lot of times not the club's fault, it's because here, whether it was the government or it was the FAW, it doesn't matter. We hadn't invested in facilities.
So Llantwit, for instance,
Yeah.
who didn't get promoted.
They didn't have the facilities.
Yeah.
They didn't have the criteria, and it's really difficult.
And can the
because-
FAW help a club like Llantwit, who's done the
Absolutely.
business on the pitch?
Absolutely. So, but the problem is, it's our licensing system. You apply for license for the Premier Division, you don't get the criteria. You can't turn around like in a few weeks, the whole thing. Some you can. So there's some clubs that apply for license. I think today actually was licensed for Tier 2, where some have failed actually, but it's quite clear that on appeal, if they do X, Y, Z, they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And even on the academies, by the way, them clubs have absolute grounds to appeal, any of them. And there's a proper appeal process they can go through. But what I would say is, what you're seeing is a recategorization of the academies to try to create better quality so the players who do go in there have a much better experience. And it's really difficult. As I say, when I read the emails from particularly the Taft Wells parents today, I can feel it.
Yeah.
It's, you don't have to try and convince us that we're cold.
Because they'll have to travel
You
now,
don't have to
the
convince-
parents
You
of
don't have to convince us that that's not a nice thing. And then if you add on top of that, last year we introduced the one player, one club rule, which is a rule across every country in UEFA, which is you can only play for one club. And there's lots of reasons for that, by the way. And the rule itself is good, but that affects some people negatively because I want to play with my mates on Saturday, I can play with the academy on Sunday, or whatever it is. That's not good, nice for everybody. But the overall picture is it's right for football. It's the right thing. And what I would say is we're going to give this recategorization a period of time, say 3 years, review it. And if it hasn't created better players that come through, then you change it. You don't go, we've made this decision, we're going to stick with that because we've made the decision. If we've made the wrong decisions, you keep reviewing it and you change it and keep doing the right thing and bring it back. But what I will say is I support our team 100% in the concept of having a category academies that have got these great criteria because we're not producing enough players who come through our system to play for the national team.
Yeah.
We've almost exported a lot of it to Swansea, Cardiff. We're lucky because they're here. I can literally look out my window and see Ruben Caldwell running around us, in the Vale.
Yeah.
I can literally call out to Swansea and see our players. So we're lucky in that regard. But we've got a duty to make the game better. And I'm really sorry. I have no problem saying it. If anyone's offended or anybody feels we made the wrong decision, I promise you it wasn't made to spite anybody, to upset anybody, to hurt anybody. It was because we felt at that moment in time, with all the evidence we had, it was the right thing to do. And I say that on my mother's life.
Well, I'm going to ask for questions from the floor then. Does anyone have a question for Noel? Gentleman who put his hand up there. What's your question, mate? Okay. What is your ethos regarding leadership of the FAW? How would you define your sort of core principles, I suppose?
Okay. So we've got values that we talk about all the time, which are respect, excellence, and family. We articulate what they mean. So respect. So it doesn't matter who you are. A good example is a parent from Taftswell writing to me today saying, we don't like this academy, I've got to let down my kids and that kind of stuff. That we respect that. We try, as you know, I certainly try to respond to everybody in our staff. The clubs don't work for us, we work for the clubs. That's a big thing to say. The parents don't work for us, we work for the parents. That's our job, is to reply to everything as best as we can. If you get 400 or 500 emails a day, it's hard to respond to every one of them because then you wouldn't get any work done at all. But you try to respond, as you know, to everything you can. But leadership is about doing the right thing. So there's certain principles we have. When we make a decision, is it the right thing to do? Based on everything, is this the right thing to do? Is a really big thing. We think about sustainability. We've got a sustainability plan called Comely Wellbeing in the World. It's probably the best sustainability plan, I would say, in the world of sports, because we wrote it with Sophie and the Wellbeing Generations Commission. Wales is the only country to have legislated for future generations. We didn't have to reinvent the wheel. We could read that, look at the UN SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and then write something for the FAW which was even better. So sustainability for us is not just the environment. It's about getting more volunteers. It's about building facilities. It's about getting more people involved in football. That's our sustainability. It's about how we invest our money. So our investment, we've got some reserves. We invest in a bank, as you do. How is that money being invested? Is it being invested in sustainable things, for example? We created a youth council, 18 to 24-year-olds. So the chair of the youth council is a fabulous person called Shan. She's very close to us. There may be people here actually in the youth council. They can tell us, what does football and issues look like through the lens of a 19-year-old? Because the way football traditionally has gone is you are league secretary, you go onto the FAW regional area association, you go onto the board, the council, and so on. And they're fantastic people who've given their lives. But do they represent a diverse country? Do they give the views of the person who wakes up with no money, who's living in a council estate, who has no access to pitches, who don't have the opportunities that others have? Do they think like that? Maybe they do, but you've got to give yourself the best chance by having people who come from them communities, who sit with us and look you straight in the eyes and say, it's fine for you to give a nice speech about facilities, but there's nowhere I can play football. Membership. I have to finish this though. We've set up a fund recently called PAUB Strategy, PAUB Fund, which means that if any child in the country can't afford football boots, if they can't afford their membership to play for a club, if they can't afford travel to get to the pitch, they can apply to a PAUB fund that we have that will give them that money to pay for their membership.
I think that does deserve a round of applause, actually.
But all I'm going to say is, that's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do.
I'm going to ask this gentleman in the black t-shirt's got a question. You've had your hand up. What's your question, mate?
Just leading on from a similar question. That was a fantastic question, by the way. Same bracket of area. So when we're talking about ethos and diversity within the actual implementation, what sort of directional path would the FAW be looking to go down towards if we were to adjust on either mental health for those with disabilities within our pathways, whether it be amateur, semi-professional, or even professional? I mean, for example, Dave Cottrell has done such with the charity. I know he's a controversial figure off the pitch, but he's done with the charities, etc., to link up different behavioural issues and stayed off drinking alcohol.
Okay.
He suffered from mental depression, and would there be sort of looking into pathways to help those within issues of players?
I'll just summarise that for the stream, because obviously the gentleman isn't mic'd up. It's a very, very prescient question. The gentleman at the back was asking, do you have any plans, pathways in particular, to do with, I suppose, with mental health in football? You know, you were talking about sports psychology, but it goes far deeper than that, doesn't it?
Okay. I'm going to go a bit around the houses just for a second, because I've done it all night. I might as well keep doing it. I'm going to answer your question first of all by saying that one of the nicest souls I've met is in the room tonight. Neville is over there. He wasn't a bad goalkeeper, but off the pitch, and having got to know him, he's an advisor to us on how we look at issues that are really good, mental health. And every single one in this room are becoming more aware that our mental health is our wealth. You know, that we top that up and we do things. And it's not just about players, by the way. It's in our staff. It's in our various committees. It's in every single one of the club that we have. So we have this concept for Welsh football that I think is going to set us apart, by the way, from everybody else. So when I talked earlier about being a football association that's more than just about football, we want to do something that's really special. So we want to become the FA, not of Wales, but the FA of well-being. The FA of wellness we want to be. So, for example, we're going to do some of the summer festivals this year. It was great last year. It was my first summer festivals. Seeing all the bucket hats of the festivals are fantastic, by the way. If you go to the Royal Welsh, you go to Estevad or whatever. But we don't want to be up there, the usual thing with tracksuits, coaching kids, doing football. That's fine. But we want to talk about the issues that really matter. Nev has brought the likes of the Samaritans, you know, different sheds, you know, where men can speak to each other. He's brought loads of different charities to us. Before the matches, it's like just this big group of people he brings to us that we talk about partnerships that the FAW can have. It could be the prison service. It could be police force. It could be something creative. But we're having all these dialogues now about how do we create partnerships. So we've got about 900 clubs across the country. Every part of the country has a club. We're going to come soon with a vision for our clubs, which positions the football club at the heart of wellness in the community, working with the likes of the NHS, working with the Public Health Wales and so on and so forth. And when that comes, I think that'll be a movement that will be unstoppable, because it will have a lot of people who are involved in football, whether it's families or players, whatever it is, coming. Like, I sat in Trevelyan, a club, where they were doing mental health first aid, and they explained to one of the coaches that hung himself off the crossbar that we were looking at. And it hit me like a punch in the stomach. What? And that's when the club decided to embrace mental health and the wellness that goes with it. Look at the Jack Lewis Foundation, a young man took his life down in Ammanford. The club then embraced the idea of, we can do something for this community. Many, many people self-referred themselves during COVID through the football club to get services to sort them, to look after themselves, to be better. Every one of us, including myself, have to keep looking at our mental health to make sure they get better. With the players, it's a really valid thing. We've got players who go through an unusual life. To be a professional footballer is an unusual life. It's an unusual thing. Every week you're on stage. You're having a trial every week. You're judged by everybody. I was at the Arsenal-Chelsea game the other night. And when you're in the stadium, I was sitting with Darrell Breen, was sitting behind me at the match, just by chance. It was great. But Chelsea. I didn't know the association. Well, I'll talk to him again. Chelsea are playing poorly, and the whole stadium is singing Super Frankie Lampard, and that's the Arsenal fans. And it's funny. Of course, it's funny. Of course, but society is changing, and all I was thinking is, I can't join in with this. And I don't want to get too deep or too introspective, because that is a person who's standing on the sideline giving his best. And football is all about banter, and it's all about taking the mick out of the other players and the manager. And that shouldn't change. And the people who sign up for it know that. I was a goalkeeper, and I remember a dog ran on the pitch. I picked up the dog and put the dog over the wall, and a supporter said to me, "Leave the dog on, you come off." Which isn't a great thing either.
And he thought, I'm going to go into sports governance.
I have to say, I don't think he was thinking about mental health right at that moment. It was quite funny, to be fair. And I laughed, and on we go. So there's a lot of banter. Tonight, there's a lot of banter. But even society's changing. I mean, as the CEO, I go into a meeting, and the staff's there. And when you go into a meeting as a CEO, you're the boss of the organization, however you look at it. And you've got a power of some sort in the organization. So if you're working with me and I say something to you that I think is absolutely harmless, it's a bit of banter. You're looking at it through a very different lens to how I'm looking at it. So, honestly, I'm starting to find myself wanting to say something, a joke or some sort, and I'm checking myself going, God, is that appropriate to say that? And there's times you kind of go, I'm really glad I didn't say that, because if I played it through in my mind, the effect that could have had on the person. So, what I will say is, in the FAW, we've built up a team of people. This is the direct answer to your question. Led by the wonderful Shan, and she's brought more and more into that team. And safeguarding is really the issue, actually. It's the wider heading. So what we have at the manager meeting, Shan comes in and gives us an update. And it's scary stuff to hear. I find it difficult, because she'll give us an update on abuse cases across Wales, where there's a football coach involved, for example. Now, it wasn't in football, maybe it happened, but we hear, and I find that difficult to hear. And she gives you links to films, Athlete A, to watch it, to see what could be happening on a mat under a football movement, which is huge, under our watch as a board member, as the CEO. Every community in Wales is football going on. I don't know what's happening out there tonight. I don't know who's insulting who. I don't know who's mentally harassing somebody in a football club across Wales tonight. But there's a fair chance that may come to our table, and I have to read about the case. And we've got to have the processes in place to deal with them cases. So obviously, a lot of the cases, the case I talk about, they may not be FAW, they're police cases or statutory cases. But there are cases that you could get where a parent could write to you about their child who's having a difficult time with a coach, who is perceived to be bullying. And we've got to put them into a process, and we have all our processes set up so that any case that comes to our desk gets dealt with in the right way. So we've set up a team. I'll give you one last. Sorry, Alice. Just remember this. I mentioned earlier, our under-17 team are going to Hungary to play in the Euros. Now, what people here forget is, them kids playing in the European Championships are doing their A-levels during the tournament. What stress is that on a young boy playing in your first major tournament and doing exams on the day of playing in the European Championships? Now, if the FAW is not set up to have somebody with them, talking them through what this is going to feel like, on the day sitting with them to make sure that they've got someone to take care of them, if we don't do that, then we're definitely not the loving, gentle, caring, human FAW that we believe that we're trying to build.
Well, Noel, I think that deserves a round of applause, actually. I was going to ask you as a final question what you wanted to be, your legacy to be at the FAW, but I think, to be honest, I think you've answered it with that question because, you know, for instance, if you're head of the ECB, if you're head of English cricket, you get 5 years. So you've got, I think it's 1,070 days to put your stamp on things. But the way you've talked about mental health, the way you've talked about the Cymru Prem, the women's team, it's obvious what your aims are. However, I've really got to point this out. I have got a train to catch. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we should give Noel Mooney, Chief Executive of the FAW, a round of applause. Thank you so much for this evening. Thank you so much for this evening. We have got a fantastic program of events for you lined up this evening. I know we were overrunning a little bit already, but I've got to say, can you imagine the chief exec of any other football association being as transparent and doing a live Q&A in front of a pub? I mean, we are in a pub and people are drunk. Can you imagine Sepp Blatter doing this for FIFA? You know, one question. one question, Sepp. Qatar, why? So honestly, it's been very, very. I'm very, very grateful. I'm speaking on behalf of everyone. But as I said, we've got some fantastic stuff lined up now. I can tell from the people in the evening who are here this evening, and also the people at home, that we've got an awful lot of Welsh football fans who might be in the Canton stand for big games. And I think when it comes to the music, the bands that play before matches, there's obviously something happening in Wales. I think we are undergoing a cultural moment. There's some great music being made, but also there's some really, really fantastic comedy being made in Wales as well. I mean, you've laughed before I brought the comedian on, which is a very, very good sign. No, I wasn't talking about myself. Listen, I do what I can, okay? But thank you very much for thinking I could be talking about myself. I'm very, very grateful. So listen, if you're watching at home, you've got a real treat in store, and obviously the people in the Riverside tonight. So after 3, because I'm going to bring him on in a second, I want to see what kind of Newport welcome we can give our comedian for this evening. So a big round of applause and cheering after 3. 1, 2, 3. Yes. I think we can do a little bit better than that, ladies and gentlemen. Pardon? Where he is from is irrelevant, mate. So, listen, ladies and gents, this next act supported me on tour. He supported me on tour twice, in fact, on 2 different tours. He's an old friend of mine. I think he's a very, very, very talented comedian. So please, welcome all the way to the stage, a fabulous Stefan Allen!
Wonderful. How's it going, Newport? You good? Yes, there we go. Right, I'm aware that you're very much in sort of listening, intrigued mode, so I'm sort of giving you a moment to just get used to this level of energy, as I just enjoy being here. Also, whoever had a go at Swansea before I was on the stage, I've just remembered I can't swear, so good on you. What team are you? Newport County. I can't. I'm out of my. It's not the place to start a fight, but after. See you around the back of the pub. You know it. Right. The other thing that is happening, by the way, is you've reached the end of a thing. So psychologically, you're ready for an interval, but it's not happening, which means you need to shut up. Is that all right? So this is the thing. It's very natural, I think, in a Welsh event to try and goggle box this a little bit. You want to chat to your people. So if the people you're with are currently talking, if you just make sure, keep them honest and shush them. Is that all right? Is it over there? All right, then have... Shh. All right, we're good to go. Lovely to be here. I am from Swansea, and I am sorry. It's nice to be here. I just love it, though. I think again, they're right? The banter in Wales is excellent, but we all come together when it's a Welsh thing. You know, nowhere is that more obvious than in front of an actual red wall. Big fan of that. I've been trying to think about what connects us in Wales, because, you know, the stereotype of the Welsh, very few of them are true. I think the only one that is true is that as a people, we're underwhelmed. Is that fair to say? Not even by anything in particular. We just wake up every day already disappointed. It's why football, I think, is so huge in Wales, and comedy as well. You know, and music. These things are important in Wales because we need to get quite excited to know what it's like to feel nothing. You know what I mean? Like, we're starting so low down. I'm going to need to build you up. At the end of this time, you'll be like, oh, I'm actually in a good mood now. Like, this is my evidence for this, right? It's a good place. It's a good place to do comedy or anything. I do a lot of work on TV now, because the thing is, if you look like I look, you get. But this is the thing, right? I'm looking at your faces, and what you want in comedy is for people to enjoy themselves. You are half concentrating, half annoyed, which is just not the right mood. This is the thing. I think it's great in Wales. I think the television in Wales over the last 15 years, you know, we make Doctor Who here now. Da Vinci's Demons was made here, and the thing is, because I look like this, I've been in all those shows just as an extra. But if you look like this, you get cast in stuff that is set in the past. So I was in Doctor Who as an Elizabethan pikeman, threatening 3 different Doctor Whos. I was in Da Vinci's Demons as a pikeman. It was great. I had the pike already. We make loads of things. The things we're growing, our soap operas, Pobl y Cwm, English soap operas. I was in Casualty as an Elizabethan pikeman. I know, weird episode, Battle of Holby. Don't know if you saw that one. And it's nice, and you get to do things like this. You know, the media presence in Wales is growing. I did years ago. I did a TV show. It was about an animal shelter in Swansea. And it was great. We had lots of celebrity guests. We had Joe Allen. We had lots of people who like dogs just come over and go, yeah, we like dogs, support them. And this is the thing about football fans in Wales. I think we're the most creative fans. We had this woman send in a doll she'd knitted. She knitted a doll of Joe Allen to sell in a raffle, just to raise money for the dogs. Lovely. But the problem was the letter that it came with had got lost along the way. And also, it's hard to find an address for Joe Allen or any of the team. But my address, apparently, freely available online. So I got this to my house. And the thing is, like, I don't know if you've seen how realistic knitting can be. If you know it's Joe Allen, it is Joe Allen. But if you don't know that, and if you're me in my own home, you know where this is going. It looks like someone has sent you a knitted doll of yourself. A bit creeped out. I was like, why she put me in those little shorts? It's quite nice. It's a nice thing that we all feel we're friends. I think that's a nice thing in Wales, even in an event like this. Half of you I know are only here because your mate Ellis is on, and you've never met him, but you know, it's friendship. Like I know the story I'm going to tell, right? So I watched a documentary a few years ago about Max Boyce. I'm a big fan of Max Boyce. I watched, yes, good. Although that's my favourite noise, which is the Welshest noise, the failed round of applause. It's too late now. It doesn't have, like, I do a lot of gigs abroad now, places like Bristol, Hull, and it counts. And anywhere else, someone starts clapping, everyone goes, whoa, like that, you know, that's what we're doing now. It's sort of, what's the word, Pavlovian. But in Wales, no, one person starts clapping, everyone else is like, no, it'll make it last longer. Let's just get through it. Anyway, I did Max Boyce. I watched a documentary about Max Boyce's rise to fame. Halfway through, Hugh Edwards is in it, in a sort of little cameo role. You know Hugh Edwards, of course, brilliant BBC newsreader. And this is what happened. Halfway through, he says, I remember when Max Boyce released his first record. I was working in a little record shop in Carmarthen, so I suppose my claim to fame is that I was one of the first people in the country to sell a Max Boyce record. Yeah? And I thought, no, your claim to fame is that you are Hugh Edwards. You know what I mean? Like, the phrase claim to fame doesn't apply if you are famous. But that's how Welsh she is. I don't think he knows. Like, he's hosted the Olympics, at least 3 times at this point. He thinks his career peaked when he had a summer job. That's the main thing. I did, near here, we filmed, years ago, I was in a film about the Romans, BBC docudrama about the Romans. There was like 100 of me, just 100, Russell Brands in armour. And there's only one proper actor in the scene I was in, and it was Hugh Bonneville. Big proper actor, Hugh Bonneville, playing the boss Roman, which I'm pretty sure is the historically accurate term. And something happened, which again, such a Welsh thing. While we're filming, someone wandered into shot because he hadn't noticed it was on. There was 100 of us. Big film crew, just this little old man, 90 years old, walking his dog. And the thing is, he walks his dog in that field every day. And that's not going to change just because the Romans are invading. And he walks, and what happens is, he is interrupted. He doesn't stop until he bumps into the star of the film. First contact between the Bonneville and the Welsh. How's this going to go? Hugh Bonneville is there. Behind him are all the extras, me and the others. But the film crew is there, behind him. So everything that explains why this is happening, he can't see. I don't know what I would have said, but he'd been Welsh a long time. He looks up, he sees Bonneville, he looks around, he goes, you lot aren't back, are you? And off he went. This is the thing. I think the Welsh are inherently funny, but I'm never entirely sure that you're joking. I'm never sure if I am. I did, a few years ago, I'd done a gig in North Wales. I was traveling, and it was Wrexham, but let's not. I know, but sometimes you gotta go. Someone's got to go and entertain them, because otherwise, they'd kick off. I was driving back. I was driving through Machynlleth. Now, Machynlleth in Mid Wales, North Wales, is a lovely town. This was in February. In May every year, there's a comedy festival in Machynlleth, and I thought, well, I know what I'll do. I'm gonna hop out. I'm gonna book my accommodation early. I parked my car. I stepped out of the door. Now, here's the thing, right? A man walking on the other side of the road, a man I did not know and did not recognize, saw me park and went, "You're early." Carried on walking. I have no idea who that was. He just knew that in 3 months I'd be there for the festival, did his joke, left. He didn't need to see if that joke had landed, but then I realized it's because he had a plan. 3 months later, I came back for the festival. Very small room I was given that year, 30-seater. He had bought one of the 30 tickets. He came in first, sat in the front row, and he went, "You made it." Didn't speak again for the entire thing. This is the thing. Wales is the best place to be a celebrity. That is my argument, because we don't believe in any such thing. There's just friends. That's it, right? Like, I was in a pub. The context you need for this is that I'm bisexual. Is that okay? Of course it is. Fucking great. Anyone in from the LGBT community? Yeah, there we go. Performers. Okay. Wow, that is absolutely fun. Right, I'm going to finish on this, right? I was in that pub. I was in a gay pub in Swansea, the King's Arms. It's great. It's like a dirty old man's drinking club. They've made it a gay pub, and the only thing that's changed is there's flags up now. Same men drinking there, same toothless alcoholics. There's a man with his shirt off. I don't know if that's like a young, sexy barman or just one of the locals who's had too many. And I don't know which one turns me on more. Anyway, I was in that pub, and they were playing, and what it was a Bonnie Tyler album track, right? And I thought, like, who's put that on? And I asked, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it's a big tune." There's no Wikipedia article on this specific Bonnie Tyler track, but it gets a lot of playtime in this pub. And someone says, "Yeah, do you know what it is? Bonnie Tyler comes here, and it's her favourite." It is such a rough pub, but Bonnie Tyler is fundamentally Welsh. Give me a cheer if you knew that Bonnie Tyler lived in Swansea. Yeah, I asked that in like abroad, Edinburgh, but and people don't know. In Wales, I've got to test you a bit. Give me a cheer if you knew that Bonnie Tyler still lives in Swansea. Okay, I'm going to push you. Give me a cheer if you knew that she lives on a main road. I know, on a main road. She could own Mumbles. No, I'm keeping it real. Give me a cheer if you knew that Bonnie Tyler owns a mine. Yeah. Did one person cheer that? No one ever has. If one person, what do you do if you're a mad 80s celebrity, but fundamentally you're still Welsh? Right, that's my time. This has been lovely. Sorry, that has flown. You've been wonderful. You've got a great night ahead of you. I've been Stefan Allen. Good night. Oh, I'm going to bring you on. Wow. No, I have one last job to do, and it is to welcome to the stage the absolutely brilliant Gabriella Jukes.
Diolch yn fawr, Steffan. Diolch yn fawr, pawb. Give it up for Steffan Allen, everyone. Wasn't he brilliant? But yes, I'm Gabriella Jukes, and coming up soon, we'll be chatting to Wales' legendary goalkeeper, Neville Southall, another Wales legend in the form of Robert Earnshaw, and a legend in their own right, Charlotte Galloway from Cardiff Dragons. But before that, let's have a little sample of exactly what we'll be talking about. Now, that's just a glimpse of some of the brilliant content we've got on Redwall Plus. But before we get to all of that, you saw a bit of it in that trailer, and it's one of the brand new documentaries free on Redwall Plus. And we're about to screen it now across all FAW platforms, so you're in for a treat. Now, for a very long time, he was one of our greatest goal scorers, and in many people's eyes, he still is. This world-class striker with the world's most famous moustache, and we hope you enjoy this exclusive documentary on Redwall Plus. Here's Goal Rush.
Please.
Yep. Yep, no worries.
Anything I get for you, or are you happy to dive into it?
I'm ready to go, yeah, when you are, no worries.
That one's set.
Well, when I was a kid, I just enjoyed playing football. My first loss was, I think, when I was about 10 years old, when I was playing for Deeside primary schools, and we won the league, we won everything. And then forget on the awards night, John Toshak came and presented us with our awards. And I got top goal scorer, and John presented it to me. So it was just like things like that. I just love playing football. But as you get a bit older, I think that the game which really annoyed me would most probably be the Wales-Scotland at Anfield. Why was the game played at Anfield? We're Welsh, and to lose to I think. I'm sure it was Kenny Dalglish and Joe Jordan and ball, when they got a penalty. I always remember John Toshak hitting the crossbar in that game as well. So that's my vague memories of when I was a kid of watching Wales.
So that 80s team growing up, when I was in school in Barry, you're either a United fan or Liverpool fan. And me and a lot of my mates were Liverpool fans. The 80s football was shorts were proper. You had short shorts, proper shirt sponsors, great haircuts. And in Rush's case, brilliant moustache. I grew up with a lot of moustache. Dad had a moustache, good moustache. So Selleck, of course, Bill Reynolds. And then Rushy came along, 6 foot, black hair, slim, scoring goals all over the place, and a moustache. I mean, I was in heaven, to be honest with you.
Well, the first time I saw Rushy play was I'd gone up to Liverpool with a football team I played for in Swansea. And I can remember standing behind the goals. The game just seemed so fast. And I remember, watching this skinny, dark-headed man just being so sharp, just being so quick. Of course, number 9 on his back. It was the great Ian Rush.
When I started watching Ian Rush, I could see something different. He puts the ball in the back of the net, whichever way, left foot, right foot, if it's a tap-in, if it's a header, if it's a scrappy goal, or whether it's a great through run and finish. I think that's what I loved about Ian Rush.
A mae'n rhoi lot o cred i'r tîm hefyd. Tîm yn ymwybodol, os maen nhw ddim yn ffaith dda, mae gyda ni Rush i fyny, so just mynd i ffeindio peth i fe, and i ffeindio rwydd.
Basically, this is how it went, right? We went to the game, defended like mad. Barry Owen or Sparky smashed their best player, and then Rushy scored a goal. For Rushy to score a long goals, we struggled at times to have that out-and-out playmaking. I think anybody who watches Wales over the years has seen we never had that midfield player who could ping the ball around. If we had, he would have scored a lot more goals as well, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think what we had hard working, so you can go, Barry Owen, and Terry Yorath and all these people, Dave Phillips, they worked so hard for the team.
Cyn i'r teimlad bryd hynny oedd, efo'r chwaraewyr oedd yn chwarae dros Lerpwl, y tîm o'n nhw'n deud falle yn y cyfnod yna, cyn iddo fo fynd i Juventus a dod nôl, Lerpwl oedd y tîm gorau yn Ewrop. A wedyn pen oedd o'n dod at Gymru, falle oedd y chwaraewyr o'i gwmpas o ddim gystal, oedd Mark Hughes, oedd yn y cefn Neville Southall, Kevin Ratcliffe, oedd Ryan Giggs yn gychwyn allan i'r yrfa, Dean Saunders. A bod y chwaraewyr eraill yn chwaraewyr oedd yn yr adran gyntaf, bydd yn yr uwch gyngrair heddiw, falle yr un chwaraewr creadigol yna yng nghanol y cae ddim yna i greu'r cyfleon i Rush.
Well, Neb was telling me, Neb and Rats came Ratcliffe when Kevin Sheedy, he's apparently Welsh, but and he went to play for Republic of Ireland. If we had someone like that, I'm sure, yourself, Sparky and Dino, I'm sure we would have scored more goals because we'd be playing off our front foot, not off our back foot.
Well, at Liverpool, he had the tools that he knew who to make a run off. They were all clever. And we would have dragging players from everywhere. That's to disrupt the players. And midfield players, we probably didn't have the Hadji or the Gaza or the Souness, the range of passes. So I think that's one of the reasons why he didn't. He scored enough early on.
As a striker myself now, when you don't score for a few games, especially the first few games, you want to start off well and you want to score goals, but you're kind of calm at the same time because you know what you can do. you know it's coming. It's a different speed to club football. Sometimes people score early, sometimes they take a few games.
No, I never doubted my ability. I think if you go back to Liverpool, I think it was seven games, 8th game I scored for Liverpool for my first goal. But I think the difference then at Liverpool, we were sort of winning and or drawing. So I didn't really worry me. But when you go 7 games for Wales without scoring and you're not winning, and that's when you start thinking. But I always believed in my own ability inside me. So once you get that first goal, you're off and running, and I was really happy when I got my first goal for Wales.
See, but that is a rarity, isn't it? Because he scored with a header. It's brains, isn't it? It's 2 sets of brains working in tandem.
Fi'n rili hoffi'r gol yma yn erbyn Gogledd Iwerddon 82, achos mae hwnna'n sgil really anodd. Does dim lot o cyflymder ar y bêl, mae'r bêl actually mynd i ffwrdd fe, so mae angen I fe cynhyrchu pŵer ar y peniad a cael ei ffwrdd o'r gol geidwad hefyd. Mae hwnna'n sgil really anodd pan ti'n gwynebu bron i ffwrdd o'r gol hefyd.
Classic Rushy. Got up in the air, nice and high, turned it in. He's chuffed. Look at the shorts. Have a word. If you're listening, I got to be fair, the way the Wales kit these days, they're a great kit. But that was what a pair of shorts, what a finish, man.
For me, again, it was against one of the top keepers in the world, Pat Jennings. I remember watching him as a kid, and to score, and he was unbelievable for Northern Ireland in the World Cup. So to score against Pat Jennings with a header at Wrexham, it was, I was relieved, yes, but that meant I was off and running.
See, that's more of a rushy goal, a real scrappy one. Luckily, it bounces, but he's so alive in the air.
Job is an uneasy goalkeeper. I managed to unease him, and on the line, I knocked it in.
Wrth gwrs symudiad fe i ffwrdd yn y gol yma yn erbyn Noreg, i ffwrdd o'n wedyn at y pêl eto, a jyst yn meddwl, yn positif iawn yn meddwl falle bod y gol-geidwar yn mynd i gollwng y bêl, a mae fyna'n rhoi pwysau ymlaen, jyst bod yn niwsant, ac oedd ei wastad fel hwnna i llinell amddiffynol gol-geidwar, byth yn rhoi eiliadau, iddyn nhw wastad yn rhoi nhw am wasgedd.
Gol fan hyn yn Yugoslavia sydd yn be fysa rhywun yn dweud typical Ian Rush. Y bêl yn cael ei basio nôl gan yr amddiffynwr, ond mae Rush yn ymwod a jyst cyffyrddiad bach. O gynno fo gyflymdra, ond gyflym iawn, oedd o'n gynt, oedd o'n gallu darllen gêm, oedd o'n gallu rhagweld be oedd o'n mynd i ddigwydd. Oedd o'n manteisio ar unrhyw gamgymeriad gan amddiffynwyr.
Look at the pitch, it's like playing on a cow field, but it doesn't matter if you can finish like that.
Again, it's another poacher's goal. The pitch wasn't the best at the time then, but I managed to get in front of the defender and just knock one in.
How do you have a touch like that? On that pitch, that ball should just stick in the middle.
Romania, I think I was at Wrexham. Yeah, you're looking at there, the ball's come in.
I'n cyfan teg, mae'r bêl actually yn bwysio draws, so eto mae sgil falle noddach na mae'n edrych. Pobl yn meddwl, pobl falle sy'n gwylio'r gol yn meddwl bod hwnna'n un hawdd, ond mae'n bwysio just cyn, so mae fe actually cadw benau dros y bêl.
Just yn gwybod lle oedd y bêl yn mynd i fynd. Falle fod hynny'n rhywbeth oedd wedi dysgu gan chwaraewyr fel Kenny Dalglish yn Lerpwl yn gwybod oedd y bas yn mynd i fod yna, rhagweld be oedd yn mynd i ddigwydd, ac oedd yn y lle iawn ar yr adeg iawn.
That's what makes him dangerous, because you struggle to mark him. Because he's that clever and he's got that instinct where I think sometimes he runs but he doesn't know why he's running.
No, we weren't expecting to win. I think the game is most probably remembered for that incredible goals Mark Hughes scored. That volley he scored, and I scored one in between the first goal and the third goal. And
most people can remember it for that Mark Hughes sort of scissor kick, if you like. Rushy must be devastated that nobody ever talks about his 2 goals.
2 goals I scored for Spain then most probably typified what I was good at. I was good at sniffing out chances. I'd done a lot for Liverpool. If you made a mistake, I would pounce on it and I'd score. And Spain done that, and they made mistakes. I pounced on it, and it was incredible to beat Spain 3-0. Every time we played at Wrexham in the early years, we felt we were never going to lose. At Wrexham, it was that home feeling where I think it was only maybe 19,000 there, but it was a sellout, and then the crowd got behind the players there. That's why we love playing at Wrexham. Bring back some nice memories. Yeah, great ball by Kevin Ratcliffe. And here's you look at the keeper made a mistake. They got mixed up, and you just tap it in. And I think that gave us a confidence to go on. Again, Mickey Thomas there. That's what I like about watch all the players come over when you score. They're excited as well. It's amazing.
See, in all fairness, he's just going on an off chance that he's going to get a chance. And most people wouldn't bother. That's what he is. He's stubborn bugger as well. I know it was a cultured ball from Rats, boot as far as you can. Someone miscontrols it, puts it between the keeper, and then he's just lively, isn't he? He's an example to all the young kids, really. Is that looks like nothing's going to happen. Scruffy goal. He scored loads of scruffy goals, but he always managed to score them.
I have to say, he's in there. All young strikers, you've got to be in the box to score goals. In that 6 box, the Rush is in there, and he gets a simple tap in. I think he puts Wales 1-0 up there.
A nath sgorio cwbl o golio fel hwnna, golio hawdd, ond bys y llwyth o chwaraewyr falle ddim hyd yn oed yn dilyn mewn fan'na, jyst yn meddwl am ar bêl di mynd, ond na mae fe wastad yn synhwyro bod yna cyfle mynd i dod, a gwall wedyn rhwng yr amddiffyn o'r gol-geidwad, a mae fe yn y lle gywir. Un o'r goliau agosach fydd e'n sgorio, ond gwaith galed fe i cael ei hun yn y sefyllfa yna.
Spain again. You look at that, tap it in there. I think that look at all the goals. They're all like 1v1s as well. So you have to do that. But I think we were on a bit of a high there. No, to beat Spain 3-0, it was amazing. For me, it's absolutely amazing.
Well, no, we've been sport. Like my boy's nearly 13. So he remembers the Belgium game. He remembers the last Euros. You know, he's now going to watch Wales in the World Cup. He thinks that's what we do. He thinks, you know, and hopefully going forward, that's what we will do. We waited a long time for that, didn't we? He just thinks it's a normal thing. But in those days, in the 80s, you never would have thought Wales against Spain, we're going to beat Spain 3-0. You know, Russia's going to get 2 goals in a 3-0 win against Spain. It just didn't happen.
Wel, dwi'n cofio'r grŵp yma achos o'n i wedi dechrau'n wael. Ond dyma Rush ar ei orau, dwi'n meddwl efo'r ail gol o sgorio, y drydedd. Bas ymlaen, Rush yna. Be sy'n ddiddorol gweld fan hyn, da ni'n gweld heddiw y ceia pêl-droed, a nhw'n wych. Bryd hynny, mae yna fod, di'r bêl i'm yn bwnsio am ond oedd Rush dal yn gallu cadw ben a rheoli, a jyst oedd o'n gwybod lle oedd y gol.
Typical Ian Rush goal, really sharp finish, pokes it under the Spain goalkeeper to put Wales 3-0 up. And what was a brilliant night at the racecourse.
Wales 3, Spain 0. Yes, please.
So this was a friendly game, and a lot of them are in the 6-yard box as well. That's when you look, a lot in the 6-yard box. And I think that was Jack Charlton's first game as manager. I think Neb broke his ankle in that game as well.
Oh, yeah.
I think Finland were physically, well, they were giving it to me and all that.
He just loves getting in front of people. He's got the desire to get in front of people and read to the people. That's always so good.
You've got to be in the 6-yard box at the right time. When the cross is coming in, be in the 6-yard box.
Gen I lot o chreu wedi yma, bach yn eog o mwyn sgorio'r gol I berffaith. O record fe yn siarad am ei hun.
Czechoslovakia. This is one of my favorite finishes. Goalkeeper comes out and he just times it, lifts it over the goalkeeper. Brilliant.
I'll never forget this game as well, to score against Italy, because I was playing in the Juventus at the time, and I was the only Juventus player on the pitch.
When he played at Liverpool, I think he learned an awful lot. You know, playing with great players like Dalglish and people like that. You know, and I was surprised really when he went to Italy, because I know at times he struggled to speak English with man so
fe'n disgwyl I Rush gallu troi a'r gyrdio mewn symudiad mewn ffilm. So fi'n joio hwnna, rhywbeth eto o'n i'n ceisio efelychu just gyda cyffreddiadau ymarfer pethau fel hwnna adref.
See, that's another typical Poach's goal, just a ball in the box, big scramble and he's there. And he's you know, he's one of them bony gits who just managed to stick his toe on the ball, but it goes off his knee or his nose or his face. Whenever it hits him on the body, it goes in. That's taking 75 ricochets. There's none of his goals that you've seen him smash one in from 35 yards, is there? That's not what he's good at.
This is obviously the one against Germany was something really special where Paul Bowden plays a long ball. And I was managed to outpace, I think, Bergwald, I think, is the centre back. And what I'd done then, I managed to get him, so I thought, I got in front of him, so if he's going to foul me, it's going to be a penalty. So that was my first, and when the ball bounced up, instead of going there, the ball bounced up. And I managed to get in and put it in.
That was a massive win. That's what I mean. So we would turn over the big side. We could beat Germany, we could beat Spain. Look at this ball. He's gone. One touch. Bang.
I mean, what a beautiful moment for the fans, for the team. You beat Germany 1-0 in 1991. Amazing. But it just shows the class and the quality and the finishing power of Ian Rush.
Do you know, when I say to him, what's this? I'm thinking, fantastic. And I go, yeah, not really, is it? Because he scored past me. So he's world class on it and he's world class off the field. But really annoying as well.
Looking back, I didn't know I scored 8 goals, but looking at that campaign, it's quite a lot. It's very, very disappointing that we didn't qualify.
It's tragic, really, isn't it? You look at so many great players that have not. You look at Rush, Southall, Ratcliffe, whose gigs.
I did think about retiring from international football because I was so depressed and everything. No, I thought we were going to go to the USA. We didn't get there, and for about 3 or 4 weeks after, looking back now, I wasn't playing really well for Liverpool either, because that was in my mind of the disappointment of not qualifying for the World Cup.
Ultimately, in my opinion, they had an opportunity. They didn't get it done. We had an opportunity in 2004, I think it was. We played Russia. We drew in Moscow. We didn't get it done.
Dwi'n siŵr pe bai Cymru, fel da ni wedi gwneud rwan, ar ni gyrraedd yr Euros yn 2016, blwyddyn diwetha, unwaith ni yna, ni'n neud yn dda, jyst mae o mor anodd cyrraedd yna. A dwi'n credu pe bai'r tîm yna yng nghyfnod Rush, ac Hughes, Saunders, Ratcliffe, Southall wedi cyrraedd rowndiau terfynol, bydden ni wedi gwneud yn dda yn y gystadleuaeth. A mae yndriennu bod rhywun fel Ian oedd wedi cyflawni gymaint ar lefel y clwb, wedi yn chwarae Lerpwl, bod o ddim wedi cael y cyfle i gyflawni hynny gyda Chymru hefyd.
It was a major disappointment. I was at the end of my career, do I carry on playing or do I retire? And I decided in the end, I thought, no, I want to carry on one more time for Wales, but until they tell me I'm not wanted, because I felt I'd love to offer to the younger ones as well. I wanted to pass my experience on to the younger ones. That's why I decided to carry on for another couple of years.
It would have meant everything to him. At the time, I would imagine it was just another record because he did it fairly early, I think, in his Welsh career. So he was scoring goals for fun.
It's a dream for me to play for Wales as a kid. To be the top goal scorer for so long was amazing. I never thought I'd do it because we only played in them games. We only most probably played 3-4 games a year. So we weren't I wasn't expecting to beat it, but when I did beat it, it was a proud moment for myself and my family to be record goal scorer for Wales, and also for Liverpool. It's something amazing, and a certain young man beat it in the end, which I'm really proud of, because if anyone's going to beat it, why not a certain Gareth Bale? The Faroe Islands. This was my first and only hat-trick for Wales. I only scored one hat-trick for Wales. It was against the Faroe Islands, and it was each of them. It's bringing back memories. So remembering this, I missed a penalty in this game. On 2 goals, I said, Dino, can let me take the penalty? I'm not scored hat-trick for Wales. He said, yeah, no problem. And I missed. I won't be taking any penalties in future, not even on Liverpool. But I managed to get a hat-trick against the Faroe Islands. That was my first and only hat-trick for Wales.
Belgium, big move.
Good fan, never kicks the ball off a goal kick.
It's just building up, plays building up. Ball comes in, Rush with the header on the 6-yard box. Again, just gets himself in between 2 defenders. This is to put Wales 2-0 up against a really strong Belgium team.
Belgium defenders having a strong one.
This time it looks like it's the Faroe Islands away, again in 1993.
Hwnna'n gols a Faroe Islands I ffwrdd, a just eto sgil mor anodd mae fe'n neud. Mae'n neud i'n sgil yna edrych yn rili hawdd fel mae'r pêl yn dod draw. Mae'n rhaid i'r garfod dod o draws corff i bwyso I hun I dal y bêl ar y adeg gywir, ond I cadw e'n lawr wedyn ar y ffordd i'n rili anodd. Mae'n beth sy'n gweld ffordd mae'n pwyso dros y bêl, mae'n ffordd mae'n dilyn trwyddo. Ond byse 90% o chreuwyr methu neud yna, methu cadw e'n lawr.
Oh, it looks so cool, Rushy, to me. Look at being Franco's Hollywood.
This is to put Wales 2-1 up in the game. The ball comes in, it's Ryan Giggs with a knockdown with his head. Rushy takes a slight touch behind him. Brilliant finish.
Here we go. Cyprus, 93. Oh, my God, lovely. Getting right in the Cyprus defenders' faces as well. Good lad. The afters. Good stuff. The master.
It's everything. You play for Wales for nothing. To represent your country at any level is an achievement in itself. But to represent Wales at senior level, in World Cups and all that, it was something I'll never forget.
Wherever you go in the world, somebody knows who he is. With that, it comes Wales, doesn't it? Where you're from, Wales. So he carries Wales on his shoulders.
Legacy Rush, bys ni'n gweud o ran sgorio. Yn amlwg, mae sgorio gymaint o goliau gwahanol hefyd, ar y adegau really, really bwysig. Mae hwnna wedi helpu, yn amlwg oedd Cymru mor agos 94, ond falle just dod ar hyder a'r cred yna bod ni yn gallu cyrraedd yr uchelfannau yna eto.
Big moments requires big players, top level players, and he was definitely one of the very, very best that we've ever seen for Wales.
Oedd o bob tro pryn oedd hi ar y cae neu ar y cae yn barod efo'i amser. A dwi'n credu wneud pobl, dwi'n gwybod fod i record wedi cael ei dorri. Dwi'n credu wneud pobl edrych yn ôl arno fo fel un o'r chwaraewyr yn sicr sgorwyr gorau mae Cymru erioed wedi cael. A wrth gwrs mae dal yn gwneud gwaith, mae dal yn amlwg bod o'n falch iawn o'i Gymreigtod ac yn falch iawn o lwyddiant y tîm presennol.
You're a young lad watching Ian Rush play against, score, hat tricks or scoring 2 against Spain or scoring against Germany. You think, if I work, I'll get my head down. Why can't I do that? Why shouldn't I be able to do that?
He's iconic. He's an iconic figure, and that's how I see his legacy now. Rushy was a class of his own.
I keep looking back at certain games for Wales, and I feel proud. So I just say, I always give 100%. I was a team player, but at the end of the day, you're a striker. You're there to score goals, and I like them to be remembered as a match-winning person. I played for Wales for nothing because it should be proud to play for your country, and that's what I felt myself. It doesn't matter. I'm going to play for Wales and give it my best shot and see what we can do.
Well, how about that? We hope you enjoyed that exclusive documentary to Red Wall Plus called Goal Rush. But if you're joining us and you did miss it, you will find it on Red Wall Plus, which is free to stream as well. You just need to head to www.redwallplus.wales to sign up. But joining me now are some familiar faces. I'm sure you'll recognise these. 2 of them are actually in that Goal Rush documentary, even though Mr. Robert Earnshaw doesn't remember being in it. Did you? You've seen that for the first time?
Yeah, I'm actually seeing it for the first time. Yeah, I was like, I know that guy.
But joining us, of course, is Neville Southall, Robert Earnshaw, Charlotte Galloway from Cardiff Dragons, and of course, the CEO of FAW, Noel Mooney. First thing then, Nev, I'm going to start with you because, of course, Ian Rush, legend of Welsh football, and you know him very, very well as part of his team. How did it feel filming that documentary on him and, talking about his career?
He was the only one he scored loads of goals past me, but he gave me more injuries than anybody else I've ever played against. He split my eye open, he did my ankle, he did my knee, and we're supposed to be mates. So, yeah. What I like about Rush, he was always for the team. He was never for himself. Now, I played with Gary Lineker and I played with Ian Rush, and Gary Lineker is not a patch on Ian Rush at any stage. So I just think he's one of the most underrated footballers I've ever come across. People in Wales know him. People around the world know him for Liverpool, but he doesn't get the acclaim that he should get because he is incredibly humble and a fantastic footballer.
Yeah, definitely. We all agree, right? Yeah. And Rob, as a fellow striker yourself, Rob, did you watch many of those clips back and take inspiration during your career as a striker?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think people don't realize because they only see you kind of when you play, when you're on the screen, when you're on the pitch, and you're playing for Wales, but. What people don't realize is, okay, how did you get there? How I got there is watching Nev, for example, going as a young 14, 15-year-old to the Arms Park, like a lot of us, I'm sure, watching Ian Rush, watching him score lots of goals. And I think it kind of leaves you to be like, oh, that inspires me. I want to do something, maybe my own way, but I want to do something and have that same feeling. And I think for me, when I watched Ian Rush play and score goals, it was like it hit me because it was the feeling that when he hits the ball and he hits the back of the net, it's like that feeling. It's like special. So, what was it? I think, what was it? 15, 20 years later, he scores against Germany. I score against Germany. So those things that inspire you when you're a kid, inspire you to do something for yourself and experience some of the same feelings. I was lucky enough to do that.
And then I was going to mention, you've had an incredible career as well. Some of those memories, like you mentioned on your debut, scoring as well. So that feeling of hitting the back of the net. Tell us about that and how that feels for you.
I always say it's the very best feeling in the world. It's the best. So I think it's was it May the 14th, 2002. So like what, 21 years ago?
Wow.
I think I went to school. Sometimes I went to school. But yeah, listen. I think the feeling is still the same for me. So you come out and you've had this dream about playing for Wales, putting the red shirt on, and you come out and it's your first game, and you look to the side of you and it's people that inspired you. You never played with Ryan Giggs. I look to the side of me. Ryan Giggs is next to me, and I look down the line and the Gary Speeds and all of these big names, and I'm like, wow, this is the best. But then I went on and in that Germany game, which was my first game, I went and scored the winner, and that was the very, very best feeling ever, because it was like, yeah, you have this dream, but when you're actually there and the one doing it, it's kind of surreal a little bit, because you kind of feel like there's like almost like this out of body experience. You're kind of doing it, but at the same time you're watching yourself, if you know what I mean. So it's very unique, but it's because of the years and years of having those dreams and watching the superstars on the pitch, and you go and replicate them in training, and then you take it out and you actually do it, and it's the very, very, very best feeling. And I just remember just in shock after. So I scored the winner against Germany. We just beat them, and this is Germany, where 2 months later they were in the World Cup final, in 2002 World Cup final against Brazil. And I remember going home, and James Collins played for West Ham. We know Big Ginge. Yeah. But James Collins, he came to my house, and we were just both in shock, because I'm like 21 years old. Just made my debut, just scored against Germany. And we were just like in shock. It's like, what just happened? It was I remember Ginger's next to me. He's like, what have you done, Aaron? What have you done? Meaning like things will never be the same again, but it's the very, very best thing.
No doubt there is. And like I mentioned, an incredible career that you've had. Let's move on to you, Charlotte, of course. You're from Cardiff Dragons, LGBTQ plus team in Cardiff. And you've played a big part in Red Bull Plus. There's the new My Clubs format on the streaming platform, which of course is one on Cardiff Dragons. How important was Red Bull Plus for you to be a part of that?
I think those videos are really, really important for us, for what I would say is the normal community. So I haven't played for Wales. Give me a cheer if you've never played for Wales. So I think we're the normal ones here. Like, those videos are for us. Any sport, seriously. They normalize things that I think don't get very much visibility. Watching like the Rose Hill video, Kimmel Bay, seeing what people are doing all around the country. I think there's quite an opinion that football in Wales is very, maybe pre-Noel, but football in Wales was very sort of Cardiff-centric, very South Wales-centric, and actually we're getting that visibility for teams all over the country, and they're getting a voice. And now I've gone to events and people are like, oh, you were in a My Club video, and I was like, well, yeah, but I'm just a normal person. So shout out for the normal people and all of the Red Bull Plus videos, My Club videos for all of our clubs.
And a part of those videos, of course, every club has a very unique story. It covers different topics from mental health, like the Jack Lewis Foundation one in Ammanford, for example. How important are these My Club stories, to get those information and vital points out there to everyone to see on Red Bull Plus?
Really, really important. So, I mean, I would consider Cardiff Dragons, as you say, it's Wales' first LGBT plus Football club, we were set up in 2008. I'd consider us really inclusive. We have got, people of all genders and sexualities there. We also have neurodiverse people there. But then I'm watching the Rose Hill video and seeing what they do and how they're inclusive, and actually they're inspiring me. How can I improve Cardiff Dragons? And actually Newport has just set up, I think the first training for Newport Centurions is next Wednesday, if I'm correct. So if you're LGBT or an ally, you want to get involved, go down there. All those videos are so worth watching to inspire those sort of next game changers and improvers. And what Noel said about wanting to engage with people, it helps form ideas in our minds that we can then go and feed back to the FAW. So we are together stronger in that sense.
I know, We'll just come to you, Noel, on that. An important part of Red Bull Plus is that it doesn't just cover the international game, but those grassroots clubs and, like us, just normal people and their extraordinary lives that they live. How important is that for you as the FAW to showcase that in Wales?
Well, first of all, it's important. There's people here tonight like Rob Dowling, Owain, Callum, and a few more. IG, who many people will know. Brilliant people in the FAW's communications team. They came with this idea. They came with the idea that we want to create some sort of hub where anybody interested in Welsh football and anything had this kind of Netflix almost of Welsh football. So the documentaries we've done here, they're there. They're there forever now. You can have them whenever you want. But also, we were talking earlier about the Cymru Premier Division, for example, the Adran Women's League and grassroots football, the stories that lie beneath. And what we want to have is a hub that you can have on your phone that any time of the day or night, you can click into Red Wall Plus and see what's happening in Welsh football. And more, we want to get more matches, content. So you can have a system whereby your grassroots local village club can be on Red Wall Plus. That's not going to be that far away because the digital transformation allows us to do anything nowadays. So even Ellis, we were joking earlier about at the Northern Ireland game, I said, why don't we do this? And straight away we can do this. And we've got Welsh football fans, loads of you here tonight, putting this night together, an entertainment show. We've put on the Late Late Show, whatever you want to call it, Jonathan Ross Show or something, just like that, we've done it. So we can do anything we want if we put our mind to it. And what we want is this always-on platform that gets under the skin of Welsh football, tells the story not just of the superstars, but of the person who's running any club, how they built their pitch, how they got a girls' team to start, the issues they face, whatever it is, their academy stuff, whatever it is. And we want to have something that's always on. Just one thing I want to say, Neville, is so funny. After my talk I gave earlier, I told you that he's quite tough on me. All he said to me since I did the interview earlier, he says, you never mentioned the word inclusivity once. So I'm now mentioning inclusivity, by the way, now, just for now.
And on that, as mentioned, an important topics too, like mental health. And to see these in a platform like Red Bull Plus, how important is that for you? And do you have any ideas maybe for the future of what we can bring to that platform?
Yeah, I think I can mention a few things. I'm not sure whether Noel knows this anyway. We have a meeting with Helen, Head of Public Affairs in Wales, the Welsh Football Association. We're meeting the Royal Institute of the Blind next week, and then the week after, I think we're meeting the BDA, which is the British Deaf Association. We've met the Samaritans, we met BME people. We're trying to meet as many people as we can to form partnerships because they're already doing stuff on the ground. Now, my vision for Red Wall is similar to Noel's in a way, but with less football. Right? So I want different things. So I want some mental health, maybe from 10 o'clock at night till the morning, because that's when people tend to have they're just left alone with their heads. So I'm trying to look at, there's a great company called Turn to Us, which is on Twitter if you want to look at it. And that's a platform with those 39 charities that give out grants and stuff. So you can go on there, see if you're entitled to any benefits and things like that. So I see from 10 o'clock onwards a mental health platform, really. So people can go there at certain times of the day or the night and actually find out what they want or just look. Because I know what I can do through Twitter. And I know I had a fellow come on my Twitter who was an ex-addict, and so he did all about, substance misuse and stuff. But we know the number of people that he saved a life, right? And you can double that by the time that other people look at it. So if we can get the mental health stuff right with the Red Wall, I know we'll save lives. And I think that's the most important thing for the Welsh Football Association, is that we care for everybody.
It's great that we can use a tool like football to, as a platform to promote these issues, isn't it?
For everybody, you've got to have a hook, and the hook is football. It's a great driving tool. But the simple thing in here is, right, I'll give you one example of mental health. One little example of mental health. Lots of you in here have got kids, and lots in here have got grandkids. And they all watch Spider-Man, Batman, Ant-Man, every kind of superhero. What they don't realise in their lounges is we've got your own superpower. And your superpower is, if we all did it tonight, is to text all your friends to see if they're okay. And I'll guarantee, without a shadow of a doubt, that every one of you in here, right, if you did that, you would save a life. You might never know, but you would save a life. And I think when your kids go on about superheroes, remind them that they can be a superhero, because you can be a superhero. All you've got to do is ask somebody if they're okay. It's as simple as that sometimes. I get stuff on my Twitter. You put something on Twitter saying, keep going. You can do that. So I think what the Red Wall is partly about, yes, it is about football, it's about community. And that's what Noel's trying to build, a proper mental health community to support everybody in the country, which is brilliant. But just remind yourselves, you have a superpower, so just use it.
Yeah, that's very wonderful. Going back to you, Rob, you've also been a part of many projects in Red Wall Plus. One being Art of the Whale shirt, of course, was nominated for an RTS Cymru Award, which is incredible. And then you fronted that documentary. Can you tell us a bit about it and your experience in making that?
Yeah, so last what was it, September, October? Eat Sleep Media, got to give them a shout. So they obviously part of the Red Wall Plus. So this platform is to have content. If those you don't know, it's to have content that's kind of a mix. So one of the ideas was for me to make my debut as a presenter, really. And I went out and we created this documentary. It's called The Art of the Whale shirt, but it was not just about a whale shirt. It was what makes Wales with the culture, the music, and this love for the whale shirt. All through the generations, the different. Everybody's got each individual story about their first whale shirt, their favorite one, their best one, all of these things. And so we create this documentary, and we filmed. We went to Germany. We filmed in Newport. We filmed in Swansea, Cardiff, Wrexham, and then we went to Germany as well. So we filmed with past players, current players, ladies, previous generations, all through the decades, and just talked about what Wales was about, but based on what Wales was about, with the love of like the music, the culture, what's the attachment, what makes it so unique, throughout the world. And then we ended up going to Germany, and those of you who didn't know, the current Wales shirt that we wore at the World Cup, Wales wore at the World Cup, was designed by a Welsh guy at Adidas in Germany. So we went and filmed with him for a day, and he designed it. So we just talked about like what was the inspirations, how did he come up with everything. So I was there, leading it and asking him questions, the questions we'll all ask, and it was great. It was really, really good, and it was nice. We put it all together. So later on or right now, go to Red Wall Plus, you can see it there, and it's just nice because it's you got your past players, you've got some current players, the women's game, how that's developed. That was another thing, how that's developed from some of the ladies in 70s and 80s having to wear, Brian Flynn's shirt, and it didn't fit. I know, Flynny, what a guy. But even like some of those stories where it was like things that you don't know about, and we kind of brought them to light and say, do you know what, this was actually going on, and actually one of the things that was going on, I didn't even know that. One of the girls playing over the last kind of 20 years or so was wearing my shirt, which I didn't even know, like training shirt, because when we finished with them, they were kind of handed down to some of the girls, and then they wore them for their games. So I didn't even know this until we were actually filming. So some of these things were stories that you never think about, never know about. But it's really, really good because it was nice to kind of ask some questions and me just ask questions that I would, like if we're in the pub right now, you come and ask is those type of questions. But it was really cool.
Yeah, you did a brilliant job, Rob. Well done, I must say. And I definitely recommend go and watch At the Whale Shirt because it's a brilliant documentary for any Welsh football fan. If you've got a favourite Welsh football shirt, I definitely recommend watching it. It's a great job. And as I mentioned, RTS Cymru nominated as well, which is amazing for Redwall Plus, of course. I have to mention as well, Noel, live streaming has become a big part of the platform. Recently, we live streamed the Amateur Trophy final as well, which is one of the most streamed live shows on the platform. Just what does that say about grassroots football and I guess the Red Wall and how much they want to support it?
Yeah, we think there's huge demand here for showing domestic football. Where you could be argued so. A lot of people say to me about the Cymru Premier Division, for example, that the big broadcasters, if you want to call it that, the BBCs or the ITVs don't show our matches. And sometimes they don't give our results, by the way, which is a different story. We're here in Wales and they should give our results. I really believe that. And we'll work on that. We're good partners with them, so we'll do it. But sometimes instead of crying about everybody else, what they don't do, it's the same as facilities. We can cry all day about the money we're not getting from governments, or we can do something ourselves about it. So the idea was that we create this platform. I know Rob Dowling is here somewhere, who's very much the brainchild behind this. He's looking with his team at what matches can we show? Could we show, for example, could you have where you click on any match you want to see at grassroots level? With technology now with mobile phones, you can film games with one camera, one phone. So we've got to make sure the quality is okay. But as the technology gets better, could there be a situation where one weekend you can have all grassroots games shown on the Red Wall Plus? You click on whatever match you want. So we'd have gone from Nations League when we had it on Sky and we were able to watch flip from match to match. It was great. Could we do it for grassroots football? I think we can. And I know that our team are looking at how we do it. There's lots of youth cup finals out there, for example, that I think we can show. I think we can show them live and get lots of eyeballs on them. And we know we've got 30,000 Red Wall members. We've got 16,000 campaign ticket holders. But there's tens of thousands of people out there who support Wales. And if we can get them all onto this one platform, Red Wall Plus, we can do anything with it. We can just do, you see it live up there. We can show any game, anytime. Anyway, so we have this always on platform. There are some people out there, would you believe, who'd watch any football.
Yeah.
Any football at all. So we're convinced that there's a demand for it and we're really behind this project to make it successful.
Would you say then that's part of the plans to promote, the Adran Premier and, of course, the Cymru Premier as well?
Definitely. Like, this should be a channel that you could go on and see all the Cymru Premier Division match simultaneously when they're played at the weekend. You should be able to see all the Women's League games whenever you want to see them. And that's where we've got to get to. That's our destination.
Brilliant. Well, hopefully that's something that we can see in future, and we're looking forward to seeing that develop. And one of the new documentaries on Red Wall Plus in this latest drop is the Sophie Ingle documentary. Of course, there's massive growth in women's football, and not just in Wales, but throughout the world, of course. The World Cup is coming up, and of course, Cymru unfortunately didn't make it there. How important is it to see someone like Sophie Ingle, who is, of course, a world-class player playing for a world-class club in Chelsea, something like that out there for everyone to see and for all the young girls in Wales?
Well, do you remember earlier I was saying about Jess Fishlock? I don't know how many people here know Jess Fishlock's story. What the challenges she faced to become one of the best players in the world growing up in Cardiff. Like, the two lads here have faced their own challenges, like everybody, like Ian Rush faced, to get to their destination where they want to get. Jess's story is an amazing story on its own. She was the most valuable player in America, as we said earlier. Sophie is a Rolls Royce in midfield for Chelsea. She's just fabulous to watch. She's captain of the team. She's the linchpin of the side. A lot of people out there don't know her story. They don't know how she started playing football. They don't know the fact that maybe her friends weren't playing football. Her girlfriends weren't playing. Did she have to play with boys? How did she get from Barry all the way through to play for Chelsea and become one of the best, the captain of Cymru? What's a lovely thing for us, I was saying earlier how we invest in our women's team. On the 9th of July, our women's team are playing in California against America before they go to the World Cup. So we were disappointed we didn't get to this World Cup. Personally, it's okay because I think we go Euros and then World Cup. That's a better sequence maybe for us. But we're going to California. Our team will play against the defending World Cup champions. And that's where Gemma and the girls want to be. So when you see Sophie playing, it's lovely to know their story. And that's what we've got to do at the FAW, is tell the story of how did this man beside me go from, I don't know if this is true, someone told me he was a bin man in Clondudno. I don't know if that's correct. But that he went through all of these clubs and ended up becoming the best goalkeeper on the planet. Like Ian Rush told me a story once. He said he signed for Juventus and he was told, you're coming to Juventus, we've got the best goalkeeper in the world in that. And he goes and trains him and goes, he's not the best goalkeeper in the world, he is. So, you know, we've got all these stories to tell. I want to know how did Neville go from being a bin man in Clondudno and before that, and what clicked in his mind that he wanted to become someone who made the world better? What happened in his life that made him want to be better? And if we can tell the stories of not just the players, but it could be a fan out there. It could be someone who comes to our matches who's got a story to tell. If we can get under the skin, there's people sitting there tonight who've got extraordinary life stories. I want to know what they are. I'd like to be able to sit down and hear what your story is. Okay. But you want to know. I mean, even for example, take this bar. It's called Welsh Football Fans. I didn't know this existed until tonight. I'm the CEO of the FAW, and I didn't know this was here. Then you come in, and Dan is here from Eat Sleep, and he's created this channel with us, right? So there's great stories. We just want to tell them stories all the time.
Definitely. And Charlotte, how important is it for you, you know, to see these content out there, not just on the men's international team, but the women's as well?
It's so important. I went on to the Red Bull Plus earlier this week, and to be honest, the first video I watched was the Sophie Ingle Fire and Ice documentary, because you see a lot of male professional footballers growing up. I was only exposed to male professional football, you know, Premier League and everything. And I wanted to, you know, I was naturally drawn to someone who looked more like me, who had similar life experience to me. And I think I just can't overstate the importance of that. I was a football fan. I was a men's football fan. And then the WSL and the international games started being televised. And I started watching the WSL, and I couldn't go back to watching the Premier League. I couldn't. And it clicked for me then. I was like, why am I not interested in watching the men's teams anymore? And in that moment, for me as a white person as well, I understood what representation meant because of seeing women out there playing football. And particularly because their stories haven't been told to this point, because they haven't been televised. You're so interested because you've got like this ready-made product in terms of these international superstars. I want to know her backstory, because Lauren James, Chloe Kelly, Carrie Jones, who was at Cardiff City Ladies, you can follow their story. You can tell when sort of a superstar, when they're 15, 16, you can start following them then. But with your Sophie Ingles and your Jess Fishlocks, they're a mystery. And that's really, really exciting.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I definitely recommend going to watch that as well on Red Bull Plus. And Nev, you know, you mentioned earlier the word inclusivity. How important is that for you to see that representation out there, especially in Wales on a platform like this?
Well, I think it's vital, to be fair. We've got to give everybody a fair chance to play football. And I think sport's got, you can see it slowly now, sport's got massive issues to deal with, like where the trans people play. So that there's all sorts of things, you know, people are trying to ban people, and it's not right. We should just have a grown-up conversation about diversity. We should have a grown-up conversation around who should play where, but we don't seem to want to do that. And I think it's disgusting. And I'm glad Charlotte's here, to be fair, because she can meet Noel in the flesh for once, and maybe some discussions can start, because we still want to be inclusive of everybody. Why should somebody be put off playing football because of somebody else's hate? And I think a lot of the times hate and bad education is taught, and that's the problem. I put a thing on my Twitter, right, saying that, you know, would any Everton fans mind if our centre forward is gay? And he went, no, not if he scores 30 goals, we'd love him. So I think, I'm hoping the Welsh FA, I mean, they're doing good stuff underneath that nobody knows about, probably the LGBT stuff. But I'm hoping that we can show that we're a leader on that, and that we can get people on the pitch maybe before the games, you know, make sure that everybody gets a fair opportunity to play football. And I think, you know, with Charlotte's team, which is a mixed gender, is that the right word? Yeah, mixed gender. So we need to find out where can we make a league of that? Did he play? Where did he play? And at the moment, it's really difficult when you've got a mixed gender, because Did they play in the men's league? Did they play in the women's league? They play in whatever league they got. So, she's a trailblazer. Do you know what I mean? And people don't know her story. And I think it's really important that she's here. And I think it's great that she's been invited. And I hope that the Welsh FA, which I know they do, take it incredibly serious, and hopefully we can do something together.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so important about that My Club section that we spoke about earlier, to show those grassroots clubs, because you do an incredible work there for the LGBTQ plus community, and it's important that we shine a light on it, isn't it? And like I mentioned, get the word out there, because someone could be watching that and feel inspired and maybe want to come and join you as well.
Yeah, 100%. And also just going back to what you were talking about using your platform on Twitter to make it a really safe space and a healthy space for mental health. The LGBTQ plus community is so victimized on Twitter. Like, you will not find very many trans people on Twitter. And to be honest, it blew my mind that there was someone out here who thought that Twitter could be nice, because we don't see too much of that. So thank you very much for doing that. Yeah, very, very grateful.
Brilliant. And Noel, I just wanted to come back to you on, the platform in general, Red Bull Plus, of course. It was launched just before the World Cup last year. And so, like I mentioned, some of the programmes on there have been nominated for the RTS Cymru Awards. Just how important was that for you to see that? And kind of what was your vision at the start for Red Bull Plus and where it can progress to?
Yeah, again, I would say we want to create this thing that we want to be more than a football association. So when I hear Nev talk about, do you know what? You can show football, you can tell the stories we spoke about, but actually you can twist this and turn it into something that's bigger than that. I'm like, Jeannie Mac, we may not be able to change the world, but we can change a lot of lives by doing this better. So our original plan was to get Welsh football out there. Like, the idea that whoever had for this bar was to create a space for Welsh fans to enjoy themselves, see the imagery, the bucket hats and everything that's around, which is fantastic, by the way. We wanted to do that digitally because, that's people can connect like that. But the more we get into this, the more we see the possibilities of what it could be. It's lovely that we were nominated for the award for the films. That's fantastic. People are really interested in jerseys. So what I love about Welsh fans, it's like a fashion show. They're kind of looking, like that shirt is fantastic, by the way, that green and yellow Adidas jersey. I'm kind of admiring it here. But people are interested in the fashion, the music, the culture of Welsh fans. We've got a very special culture to celebrate. That's a culture that's now being celebrated. I mean, if there was an award tomorrow for best fans in the world, I'm not just saying this. As an Irish person, we grew up under Jack Charlton, winning a lot of awards for our fans. There was never trouble. They just had a bit of crack and they had fun. But the Welsh fans have kind of gone to another level of not just fun and crack, but actually caring about social issues as well, which is another level again. So our support base, we're so proud of them. In Croatia, I think we had 1,700 supporters. Isn't it great if we can go to Croatia and tell their stories, but not just about the football, about their lives and how they end up in Croatia, and how they're feeling about things and what they think about life and what they think about transgender and all these different issues that we have. Nev has mentioned transgender, and it's a big issue. Of course it is. How we deal with it is a test of what I'm saying tonight. We've got a group. Cara Singram is absolutely fantastic. She's a big member of the Rainbow Wall. She's a real driver of trans issues within the FAW. So I'm confident that in that role, the likes of Jason Webber, a leader on equality, diversity, inclusion, our POUB strategy, how we love people and include them, inclusivity into it. I'm really confident they can do it, but their story will turn us into an association, as I say, that's more than a football association. We're like a movement that involves, as I say, fashion, music, love of football, but also love of other people and how we can help other people. So I know it's a little bit long-winded, but it's a vision that the likes of Nev and others keep bringing to us. So this football association is not built by me and the team in the FAW. It's built on the shoulders of giants like Nev and different, like yourself, where you're telling us we're listening, and we keep evolving this association every day. And Red Wall Plus is a chance for you to have a lens to see how that evolution is taking place.
Definitely. I'm like I mentioned, I highly recommend you all signing up. It's free to sign up as well, and all this incredible content, documentaries, masterclasses, you name it, it's on there. So go ahead once you get home from here and sign up. But before we end, of course, This is a big year again in Welsh football. The Euro qualifiers, so next month, of course, as well. Can I get your predictions for these qualifiers? Will we make it to Germany? Some of you know what were your hopes?
As you can imagine. So when I'm out running or whatever I'm doing, I'm envisioning this first match, Armenia at home. We're looking, is Nico going to be okay? Is he not going to be okay? Will Ben be okay? It looks good. Brennan will be okay. It's all going in the right direction, I think. So Armenia at home. If you look at the Euro campaign, the World Cup campaign, sorry, we drew at Estonia at home, 0-0. Do you remember the young goalkeeper was fantastic, Karl Heim? It was tough. That was a tough night because remember we had Belarus away. Garrett scores the hat-trick. Last kick of the ball, we get the hat-trick. We ran around Kazan that night just so I can celebrate. No one had a clue we were celebrating because it was played in Russia, not Belarus. We were just running around Kazan. It's so excited. So we play Estonia. We drew 0-0. And if you calculate it all, Latvia at home, you need 3 points. Armenia at home, you need 3 points. We didn't get it against Estonia, which sent us into the playoffs, and thankfully we came through, which was amazing. But we need to get our 3 points against Armenia. So the minimum we need from this camp is 3 points against Armenia. A real job well done is 4 points. That's if we come back from Turkey with 4 points, we can all look at each other and smile and go, job well done. But if we get 6 points, we've one leg in the tournament. If we get 6 points, it's not beyond the bounds of possibility. We're looking good. We're playing really well. If we get the 6 points, we can really start seeing, and we still have 4 games to go. So, and as well as that, one other thing I want to say. One other thing I have to say, I didn't know this. I didn't know this until I came here. But I didn't realize the effect the crowd had on the team and on the game. It's like they're blowing the ball into the net. Against Ukraine, you could actually feel they couldn't score if they were still there because the crowd were so willing the ball not to go in. It helped that Wayne and Ben played well, by the way, and a few more. But the atmosphere in that stadium for us is amazing. So what they keep saying, the managers, you go step by step. You don't let yourself go too far. You don't start thinking about what's it going to be like when Croatia come here. You don't think like that. You just think about Armenia at home. You get the 3 points, and then you start to really think about, because the coaches are thinking, but the players just think like that. If we can get the 4 points, it's a job really well done, and I think we certainly can.
Yeah, we're definitely on good stead already after the first 2 games, aren't we? Top of the group, amazing. What about you, Nev? What are your predictions?
Well, I think you go into any tournament and you expect to win. I don't see any reason why you can't qualify. I look at it and just go, right, do we expect to win this? Yeah, we expect to get through. I expect them to win every game. Why not? Because that's the attitude you've got to have. I believe we should qualify. I believe that we should go into every game, not fearing anybody, but because everybody's got the same throw of the dice. You don't know who's going to turn up. You don't know what sort of form they're in. So it's 11 against 11. So why can't you win every game? I don't worry about anything else.
I think everyone here agrees with you, as you can tell.
If you want to be a successful team, then you have to think in the right mental way of going, we're going to win. There's nothing going to stop us. We're going to qualify. And I'm sure, hopefully, Noel will have been out already to look at hotels and training grounds ready for when they qualify.
Definitely.
Because I guarantee Germany do it, and all the other countries do it. So why can't we expect to get there?
Exactly, and that's the mindset we need, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, why not? We're winners.
Yeah.
They proved they can get through, so why can't they do it again?
And you, Charlotte, what do you think?
Yeah, what they said. I really hope so. But for me, you know, we talk about the Euros, we talk about the World Cup, but we always say like women's Euros and women's World Cup when we're talking about them. So I think if we can start saying men's Euros and men's World Cup, because actually the Red Bull Plus is really good at this. It says W or M in front of a fixture, so you know which team it is. So when the men qualify, if they could just like give the women a little leg up and get the women to a Euros, that would be incredible. I'd be really, really happy with that as well.
That's such a good point, Charlotte. And Rob?
So I was lucky enough to play in a little bit of a similar process that we're going through right now. 4 points, first 2 games. We had, I think it's the 2004 Euros, the qualifiers for that. And we ended up losing to Russia. We lost to Russia in the playoffs. So it's that qualifier. But we started off on fire under Marcuse. And I was fresh, young, new. and we had all the experienced pros, and I'm looking around the dressing room. But I think what's maybe a little bit different now is the Gareth Bales and the Chris Gunters, and and the Joe Allens are retired now. So I think the young players now in the squad haven't got those older, experienced players. I was lucky enough to have that, and we still got this close, and it felt like that was the one we should have done it. But I agree with Nev. I've always been this way: is you go out, and I don't like to kind of think like little. I like to think like, or we're playing against Germany. Okay, let's go. Let's play. We're gonna beat you, and that's the mentality. And kind of looking at the World Cup, the thing that I was disappointed about, and very openly, I was disappointed because I felt like we didn't give everything. Not in effort. I think it was lots of effort. I just mean like that. Let's go. Let's play. That because it's different. I think so, when you play football and when you play like in the game, it's very different to be like, right, me and you, let's go. We're playing. It's personal. Let's go for this 90 minutes. It's very different to, I think, what people perceive as effort. Players run around. They're fit and they put in lots of effort. That's very different. You park that aside. But when it's personal, that mentality, that different mentality of I'm coming to beat you, that's very, very different. I think that's where I wanted more of that. Watching as a fan and supporting the boys and be like, show me that, because I feel like you get to the next level. So I hope if we get the 4 points, it's because of that mentality. If we get the 6 points, it's because of that mentality. I actually think I like the squad now. I like the players. I've been lucky enough to see a few of them up close, chat to them a little bit. And I like the talent that's come after the Gareth Bales and the Chris Gunters. And I love that Aaron Ramsey is still there. I forgot to mention him, but Aaron Ramsey is still there. And somebody who I've known since he was a young kid and grew up in the same town. But I think he's going to help. But I would love to see us qualify again, because it's not just for, it's not just for the FAW. It's not just for the fans. It's also probably for the young kids that watch. Yes, we got to the World Cup, and then they go to the Euros, and it inspires them for that next generation, because that's also a big part of it. But I'd love to see us. I think we can get 4 points. I think 4 points is realistic. I'd love 6 points. I think we should go for 6 points.
What do you all think in the audience? Yeah, can we do it? I think that's a yes. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Well, guys, thank you all very much. Sadly, that's all we've got time for now on Red Bull Plus Live. But thank you all for joining us. Thank you to our guests, of course, Noel Mooney, Neville Southall, Charlotte Galloway, and of course, Rob. And of course, as well, our comedian from early on, Stefan, and the amazing Ellis James for his cameo with Noel earlier on. But that's it for now. Thank you for joining us. And remember, you can sign up to Red Wall Plus for free on www.redwallplus.wales. You can see all the documentaries that we chatted about tonight. But thank you very much for joining us at home as well. And to everyone here in the Riverside, here in Newport, thank you very much. Well, that's it for now. No star.
When I was going to football back in the days, it was, nothing around like, as in, t-shirts and things like that, or bucket hats, or, it was always like, you wore the Welsh shirt if you could afford it, that type of thing, and now it'd be it. That was in the 90s when I was going, and that carried on. It wasn't a fashion thing then, but now wearing a retro shirt is a fashion icon now.
And there's more scope for individual artists like yourself, and being an individual artist to an extent, you don't need to sell 1 million.
want to get back to the top table of Welsh football, and when I say the top table, I mean the very top.
I think if we don't have that belief, then we probably shouldn't be here. That this is our role, this is what we want the club to achieve. There's no reason why, Phoenix rising from the ashes, hopefully.
Like a volcano. It had to explode eventually.
One of the Yugoslav players were jumping up, trying to punch somebody. The corner flag spear attack.
I'm going to get the referee. I'm going to finish him. That's our campaign over.
I think the way that we do the tournament was a necessary evil.
I think we were seeded to finish 3rd out of 4.
Austria were no match for us.
That was the attitude amongst the squad. We will win today.
We had qualified.
Wales was there in the quarterfinals of the European Championships.
Yugoslavia. It was like something that had never much happened before in Wales, at a football match. There was certainly an atmosphere, but it was a little bit daunting.
It's just a shame that the result and the crowd trouble maybe made them forgotten now.
Today we're at Talbot Memorial Park, locally known as the Plough. We started here in 1994, and I think it was about 12 years until we moved to our new home at the Ellis Park in 1996. Hopefully the club will keep going from strength to strength as we've done since 1984.